Hello and welcome back to part 2 of Imperial Diplomacy 2.5. This is my game as Spain. I'm here once again with Ezio. Hi Ezio.
Hello, hello.
And when we left off, I think Ezio was very impressed with my position.
Yeah,
Maybe even a bit of an understatement on that. I think when we left off the last recording, you were acting very irritated that I'd had a much easier time than your Spain had.
uh, yeah, everything's going amazingly for you,
Mm-hmm.
basically. Um,
Yep.
the only risk is it might be the literal, oh, it's going too well, and people recognize that and team up against the board leader. But if that doesn't happen, you're just in fantastic shape.
Yeah. And we can see, like, over here, Poland isn't incredibly far behind me. Like, they are on 37.1%, which, okay, admittedly, that is a way behind 45.8, but Poland has less centers to get up to where I am, right, because they're a smaller power in general, so I think I can sway the angle that I'm not actually that far ahead, all things considered. I'm doing very well, but other people are doing very well as well. Um, Now, on the board itself, some important things where we left off. In North America, I'm working with Athapasca, right? We're trying to demolish Sioux together. I was a bit... not Sioux, Shoshone. I'm thinking of the A1 map. I'm a bit nervous about the fact that Athapasca, in the division that we've agreed, Athapasca gets all of these, and I just get Aquala. But that's something we'll come to as we go. England is solidly working with me on the condition that they get the Caribbean and that they're allowed to kill France, which is absolutely great in my eyes because it means that I've got a bunch of fleets mobilized here already, right? I don't need to build too many myself. In the south, I am working with Aymara. I'm also working with Portugal everywhere. And we're working against the Netherlands and against Mapuche down here. Mapuche, who has had incredible tactical reads for basically the entire game, and so has almost not lost anything at all. Has managed to slip into Sao Paulo. If we go over to Europe, working with Portugal again, also working with the Ottomans, working against Austria, and working with France, but an important thing to note about the working with France part of that is that I have already stabbed France twice, right? I stabbed them once to take Corsica, then they said, hey, we can work together. I said the condition for that would be you taking the fleet off. They said, sure, and then they took the fleet off, and then I built against them here, and then they reached out and pitched another alliance at that point that I then took. But I'm kind of aware that France doesn't like me very much at this point. And their alliance with me is out of necessity, not because they want to. You can see this kind of thing with the army build in Marseille, right? If they're going against Austria, it's going to be far more effective to put it in somewhere like Dijon, but they do not trust me, and honestly, I wouldn't either with these units standing here. But not a lot they can do about it. Actually, Ezio, I want your opinion on this. If you're France in this position, like, what do you do? Do you stick with Spain, or do you, like, maneuver back to try and deal with this problem over here?
Leave the game and stop playing France. I think this is a problem that France has in this imp. I think France is not a good power for this reason.
Mm-hmm.
Just I think Spain is too strong, and the Ottomans are too weak. And like the initial setup where Spain just dominates the Med, you're gonna lose Marseille and Genoa like every time.
Yeah.
So I think if you put me in France, I would try to sell Marseille and Genoa to Spain, and I would try to get something out of it, presumably something in the Caribbean. Is I would try to do it. Maybe I'd try to sell it in exchange for them supporting me into like Baracoa, Havana, and Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. Maybe St. Augustine is something that Spain's are willing to sell. Maybe Bahamas. I'm not sure, but I don't think that France can hold Marseille and Genoa unless Ottomans go to war with Spain in like '02. And in
Yeah.
this game. That didn't happen. There's no chance. They're going to lose Marseille and Genoa at some point.
Yeah. I think that's quite reasonable. Like, just the whole setup of this border, we've talked about it a ton already, but it's so hard for France to invade Spain. I think you might be able to reasonably do it if you get enough fleet control of this area and just stack up armies and start convoying them over into Galicia and Navarre, because that's the route I've seen Spain be weak to in the past, right? But just unless you get into that position, and it's quite a difficult position to get into, it's really difficult to push in this way. It's just and like in the Mediterranean, you're never going to come out on top. That's just a painful situation. So I don't know that I'd want to sell Marseille and Genoa. I feel like that's if you can get a deal where they don't build any armies at that point and they take with fleets, then yeah, I guess.
Oh yeah, that's part of it. Part
Yeah.
of it is they get no armies in Iberia. Like the upside is, hey, they get two extra centers, and one of those is a core, so Spain gets control of the entire northern Mediterranean. Corsica is kind of gonna go along with that, right?
Mm,
Because Corsica is kind of French. It's like French. So if you sell all of these things to Spain, it's a lot that you're selling, right? It's part of your core homeland. So you should be able to you would have to get a lot of it from return. And the problem is that Spain doesn't need you to give it to them. Spain can take it.
yeah.
So why would Spain give you much? It's a tough. I don't know. I think France is not strong in the current iteration of IMPTA.
hmm
Um,
Well, I mean, they got off to a very strong start in this game, but it got a bit neutered because I attacked them here, and I
yeah, I think
propped England up
like
a
this
bit.
is an example of why it's so weak. I think they absolutely crippled one of their major rivals in England, who is a huge rival in North America, and they are adjacent to the English Channel, so there's tons of battle there. And they had a great alliance with the Netherlands, one of their neighbors, and this is like all you can dream of in a lot of these games. But the nature of the position is that Austria will almost always contest France in the mainland over all of these German centers. And that's just an enemy that you're going to have to deal with. And so at home, they're not in great shape. And then in North America, their North American position in this one, France is doing quite well because they killed England so brutally in this first year. Um, Normally, I think you're in worse shape on that front. So
Mhm.
maybe the North American colony is going to be fine. But also, there's a lot of regionals over there who like to work together. And like Inuit and Athapasca, I think, pretty natural allies against France. So,
Yeah, I think this region is stronger than maybe you give it credit for. Although France's starting position is painful if you don't get the
yeah.
right alliances, just because it can be crushed so fast, right? But like, if you
Yep.
can
This
get a
position's
decent
pretty.
position like this, there's so many SCs in this region. It becomes kind of holdable. Um, at least that's my view on it. I
Yeah,
might
like
be
we'll see if
mistaken a bit.
France holds this. Like, depends on his relationship with Athapasca. Because if Athapasca and Netherlands, like, if the people surrounding him turn on France, then
Mhm.
he's going to explode. And your point of there being a lot of SCs, so it's holdable. Sure, there's a lot of SCs, so people want to take it.
Yeah, that is also true.
So
hmm
I think that France's position, like England, has the good position in North America, having the coastal SCs. They're safer because they have fewer hostile borders. They only border France, really, and they can build fleets. Now that France has captured those, yeah, I think France's position is much better, but it's still going to take France a while to get enough fleets to actually defend this, because until that happens, England is going to be the biggest pain in the butt.
Yeah.
Although England had to disband a lot of fleets out here because England's losing so many centers.
Yeah,
So,
super important note here, right? The big condition of England working with me is that they take control of the Caribbean. One of their things with that was, okay, I'm basically going to disband everything on this front because I want to hyper focus this, try and get a solid core in this region. And England has a lot. Do they have a lot more? No, they've got one, two. They've got two fleets more here than they technically should, right? Based on the number of supply centers in the region, they want to try and leverage that immediate advantage to build a base here as quickly as possible. Whether that's gonna work, interesting question, because France also has a lot of fleets on this front, and of course we've got a third party here in Poland who is also like looking out for what dots they can get.
Yeah,
But
and you're not really on the front line out here, so you won't help much this year.
yeah, exactly. And that's a bit of a benefit to me as well, right? Because I'm working with France here. In fact, when I said I stabbed France twice, I've actually kind of stabbed France 3 times, because, well, actually, have I? I feel like it might have been this last turn that I stabbed England here, actually, and then England flipped. So France might not be aware that I've got England on side right now. But
But you've made the deal to stab France.
yes.
So you have stabbed France a third time. Just France is only aware of the first two, probably.
Yeah, the interesting question here is, could I get away with continuing to work with France over here and just letting England do their thing here and taking the Caribbean, right? I think the answer is probably no, because I have these fleets here that France is going to be expecting to hit England in various places as a continuation of the attack from before. So if I don't do that, France is going to get very annoyed with me, right?
Probably.
But then does
I'm
France
surprised
have...
you weren't able to negotiate a better deal with England here.
Mm,
To be like, hey, I'm happy to have you kick France out of the Caribbean, but also, like, I want Jamaica.
yeah, so
And if you take Jamaica, then suddenly you're holding up your end of the deal with France. You can't take anything else. So,
that's actually a
yeah.
super interesting question, right? Because I think I absolutely could have done and, like, pushed something like that. But England came to me after I stabbed them with the proposal, hey, I'm just going to work with you going forward as long as you give me the Caribbean and let me wipe out
Yeah.
France. If someone comes to you with a deal like that, do you really want to push it for a bigger leverage? Or are you like,
Yep.
this person's going to be my vassal, right? I kind of
Yeah,
want to make them
because
as
I don't.
happy as possible so that they are my vassal.
Yeah, I don't believe that. I've had too many games where people use the "oh, I'm going to be your vassal" as a negotiating tactic, and they stab later.
I mean,
And
very fair,
so,
yeah.
yeah, when someone says, "Hey, I want to give you, I want to do what you say," I ask them to do something they would never otherwise do,
Mhm.
which is let me take a center and have the ramifications for it.
Yeah.
And I think Jamaica in this example is a perfect one because I can say, hey, you want to kill France? Excellent. Go kill France with all of your fleets. I will take Jamaica. I will leave you Bahamas and Bermuda so you can keep your cores in the region to pump out more fleets to ensure that France gets crushed. But I'm going to take Jamaica off of you and I'm going to keep my stuff in this Western Caribbean.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And, like, if I really want to take Jamaica, I kind of can negotiate that at any point anyway, right? Because these fleets aren't coming backwards. I can
Yeah.
say, hey, I really need that center, I'm gonna go grab it now, and you can't really do anything about it, so hopefully you're not too mad about it.
Yeah, and you can ask for it later. And I think, yeah, the timing of it, I probably wouldn't say, hey, I'm taking Jamaica as the first thing. Right? Once they say, "Hey, I'm minting into France," I'd be say, "Hey, great, that's wonderful. Yeah, go kill France." And then like next phase, I'd probably say, "Yeah, great, I'm going to keep the Western Caribbean things."
Yep. Well, it's an interesting question. I think we'll get into it more as we go forward because we'll see what happens in the Caribbean here. I do get your viewpoint. I think the way that I play this is super important to how the game goes forward. So yeah, we'll
Yeah.
definitely touch on it. Other thing, England is just giving me Norfolk because
That makes it harder to also get Jamaica.
yeah, they just don't want to keep this area anyway,
Yeah,
right?
I'm
They're like
surprised.
here
Did you
and
make
here.
this deal with England? This was before the fall, right? Or this was before winter?
This is the winter phase right
Yeah,
now.
yeah, but you knew about this going into this phase, right?
I
With
think
England disbanding all of his
so.
stuff.
Yeah, this was the turn where I stab England for Belize and
Yeah,
Barracara
and then
before
England,
phase
like,
before
before
this.
builds come in. Basically, I'm curious about the fleet in St. Augustine and then the fleet on the west coast of Mexico City, as opposed to putting an army down in St. Augustine.
Yeah, I think I wanted some kind of like,
Leverage.
yeah. Also, I view the Gulf of Mexico as a super important province, and the
Yeah.
fact that I'm having to put Mexico City on this side, mainly because I'm worried about Tokugawa at this point, to be honest, but
Yeah.
also the reasoning is that Shoshone has these fleets here, means that the only fleet that I can get to Gulf of Mexico if I do want something there is St. Augustine.
Fleet Saltillo.
Uh, yeah, that is actually true. I could have done
Yeah,
that.
Fleet Saltillo, Army San Augustine.
Yeah. Actually, an army on that front would have been much better. I think you're right. I think what I had in mind was that I need to get this police unit convoyed up to Muskogee. Although that's a turn behind what would happen if you have an army here already, right?
Yeah, you can do both. Yeah, right. You can move St. Augustine to Muskogee, Saltillo to Gulf of Mexico, Belize to Yucatan, and then convoy Yucatan to Muskogee while Muskogee goes to Cherokee or Catawba or something.
Yes.
And then your northern front looks actually quite stable.
I think
Now,
I have 3 builds on this turn as well, and I did also want
only
to
three.
use one over here.
Yeah,
Because
if you're actually tight on builds, that makes it harder. I just assumed you were summoning them.
no, surprisingly, like it's in maybe potentially the most important thing here was remember that Ayutthaya. I don't think we covered this when I was going over the initial starting position, but Ayutthaya had just stabbed me here, and then we managed to pivot them against the Dutch. If they hadn't stabbed me, we would have been in a decent spot to take some stuff down here, but obviously that wasn't the case, so I was a little tight on builds. I didn't gain very much this year. I think I got pushed out of Chiloe as well. So yeah.
And did you keep that fleet on the board or did you pop it?
I think it went into
Kept it
South
on.
Pacific.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you kept it on. I don't think you had 2 fleets in SPO before then. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um.
Yeah, this is like a sparse thing. It's fine. I think that army, like the army in St. Augustine, doesn't actually get you a center this year,
Mhm.
right? I don't know. I want to make the more solid line across North America. I want to have a line all the way from Nueva to Norfolk,
I.
like it's all the way through.
I think that's very fair, and I also think you may be giving some premonition of what may happen later in this game. It really does feel like this front
Oh,
is
I do
potentially
remember
weak,
what happens
right?
later. Oh, yeah.
Um,
Okay, yeah. Man, this looking back on it, knowing what happens, this fleet's a big mistake.
mhm.
Actually.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh,
All right. It's nice to know that my vibes. I forgot about that. I hadn't really thought, but no, that's great. Yeah. Look at
but
me
yeah,
thinking.
so I am at war with the Dutch, I'm at war with the French, I'm allied with Athapasca, but remember that Athapasca is just gonna run these people down, and then I've got a lot of armies to deal with here, so it would make sense for me to be reinforcing this area. Right now I am playing this very risky indeed. So, I think your vibes are correct there. I think I'll just continue covering this area very quickly. I was at war with Austria. We just managed to get this convoy off over here. Ottomans have been attacking Austria as well, and were very happy to work with me to do so. Ottomans are having a bit of a rough time in the south anyway, so I'm also very happy to be working with them, right? And then over in the Philippines, we did already cover it. Basically, the deal I've made at this stage is, alright, Ayutthaya, you can have everything you want. As long as you leave me my area here, I will be very happy to just help you against the Netherlands wherever. Which feels like a really rough deal, but it beats getting knocked out of this region completely by Ayutthaya and Netherlands, which is what I think would have happened otherwise, right?
Yeah.
Other important thing on this build phase. I think it's this phase. This fleet in Nakhon Sea is actually on the other coast. It looks like it's on the east coast here.
If I say the other coast, you mean the west coast?
Yes, the west coast. So it's pointing out towards Andaman Islands. I believe that when I was looking at this, I thought it was on the east coast, and that is going to become relevant in the negotiations next round. But it is actually supposed to be on the west coast. It's just a positioning mistake. I mean, I guess it's next to the west coast symbol, but that's clearly on the wrong coast, right?
Yeah, that's clearly a fleet. I also looked at that and I thought, East Coast Fleet, what a pain.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pain, right? Because East Coast Fleet only goes to Nantua Sea, which is not what we want to see.
Yep.
Whereas West Coast Sea is useful against Netherlands. So, yeah, Spain loves to see that fleet on the West Coast. But if that is on the West Coast, that's great. Just
That
annoying.
is. Unfortunately, as mentioned, I think it's on the East Coast going into this next phase, which changes my view of that region a little bit. Alright, well, we'll go into the next phase here. Just relevant negotiations. Oh, that's not the next phase button, that's the move the map a tiny bit to the right button. So perhaps the most relevant negotiation, we'll start here then. I believe this is this phase. Oh my god, I should actually check that this is this phase, because I might be... It is this phase. Alright. Netherlands approaches me and basically says, hey, I know we're at war here, right? And we're very entangled at war here. This war is not going to stop. You're working with Aymara, that's fair enough. I don't see any way to talk you out of that. But
Yeah.
in
I will
this...
say, I think the war in South America is going to stop pretty soon because they're going to take all of his stuff.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's not going to last much longer.
It's a little bit of a slog purely because I don't have any fleet support. This is a region that I can't really get to, which I think in your game you ended up coring Caracas, right, to be able to send fleets out onto this front very quickly. As you know, I have the one fleet in Caracas, but it's kind of pinned down by the fleet in New Courland. I am aligned with Poland, but they've been constantly asking for more stuff in the Caribbean. So I'm aligned with them in the sense that I'm promising them stuff that I'm not planning to give them, which is a bit of a temporary alignment. But yeah, it means that the Dutch can grind this out to a bit of a halt by bringing in fleet support up here. Thankfully, they only have the one fleet right now, so I can push in with the armies, slowly but
And the
surely.
Netherlands are saying, hey, that war is still going to happen, but in spite of that war, I want to work with Indonesia.
Yes, exactly. They pointed out to me, hey, look, okay, it's pretty clear that Ayuthayah's fleets are in Celebes and Flores here, they're going for all this stuff, right? The deal you made presumably has them getting the bulk of it because that's the kind of deal that would flip them, which was a very good read on his part. He's like, if you let this deal go through, Ayutthaya is just going to run rampant in this region. There's nothing that anyone is going to be able to do against them. And honestly, if you're making a pitch to me, that is probably the best thing you can say. Because I don't like my allies getting stronger than me, right? But especially in Imperial diplomacy, I don't like to see a regional getting very strong in an area that I'm very weak in, or that I have no presence in, right?
Yeah.
Because regionals can just snowball it to a win. Against a colonial, you have some kind of mitigation, you can get board-wide alliance against them. Against a regional, that's much, much more difficult. So, balance of power instincts are kicking in on hitting this, on hearing this. The Netherlands basically goes, hey, how about we just stay at war everywhere else and we work together here? Which I think we've mentioned in previous episodes is something that you expect to hear in this game but never actually works, right? Because things end up overlapping a bit and, you know, frustrations carry over from one region to another. But there was something about the way he said it that made me really think he was being legit on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he said, hey, your ally's going to get stronger than you, and what are they going to do once they're stronger than you?
Exactly. Right? And
Yeah.
the deal right now for me here isn't actually all that good. It's just you get to keep these three, right? Which...
You have 4 units in the area, right? You need a 4th thought. A 5th thought.
Yeah.
You have 5 units in the area.
I do have 5 units in the area.
Oh,
on 4
God.
dots, though.
4? Oh, because, yeah, you have Coda. Okay, yeah. So you're on the +1.
I
Anyways,
think
yeah, you have 5 units.
I think the deal involved me giving over Cotabato at some point as well, which I was hoping wouldn't happen anytime soon, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, eventually, it's a long time from now.
So I look at this situation, I go, well, yeah, okay, we can make this work. I definitely don't want Ayutthaya to get this much out of it, and
Yeah.
I think they are going to become pretty unstoppable in this region if I do just knock Netherlands out of the region, because who else am I going to work with there, right? I can work with Portugal, but look at how many centres Ayutthaya would have in comparison to, like, this.
Yeah, working with Netherlands against Ayutthaya honestly makes a ton of sense. And I felt like you were forced into a position where you had to work with one of Ayutthaya or Netherlands because they both stabbed you simultaneously, right?
Yes.
They did a brutal dual stab. And so here, you're like, okay, you know what? Well, I can judo throw this, and you guys both stab me, so I can work with one of you against the other. I can offer a better deal. And now you're doing the classic, work with the other one to go back. Like, yeah, this is like a stabby move and it's flipping, but this is one where you weren't the instigator of the stab. And so I think this one is far more reasonable. Um, right? You said whatever you needed to get Ayutthaya off of you for a phase, and now you're going to work with the other one to reach a more stable alliance. Because I do think the Spain Netherlands alliance is more stable in this region than Spain Ayutthaya. So
I,
sweet.
I agree completely. I'm actually surprised you agree with me here, because obviously your game plan in your game was more about working with strong regionals, right? To get to a balanced endgame.
Yeah, but this say I'm not strong enough here.
Yeah, that's
What
very
I mean,
fair.
what I did in my game in the Philippines was I just kept Ayutthaya and Netherlands at war forever, and I kept promising each other one support, and I did like the littlest bits possible in each one. Well, with because I only had like one or two fleets in there, and they both hated each other's guts for the entire game, and so I would love the idea of getting this game back to the same, where Ayutthaya slowly beats the Netherlands. Um, so yeah,
That that
I
very
love
much
this.
makes sense. And this is also where this fleet being on the wrong coast comes in, right? Because I'm looking at this and going, okay, this is going to come out to Natuna, which
Yeah.
is even more of a threat to me potentially.
Oh yeah,
Whereas,
that means you're trying to take Cotabato this year.
yes, whereas if I'd seen that it was on the other coast, I think I would have been. No, I think I still would have sided with Netherlands here, but I certainly would have made slightly different moves when we go to the next phase.
Closer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
uh,
like as I would try to bounce Satuna Sea with Cotabato, probably.
yes, exactly.
And
This
then
is
I'd
what I
probably
try
try to
to
like
do.
yeah. Oof.
um,
Oh man. Oh well.
yep. So, yeah.
Do you back out of R4C? Are you
Um,
so committed to it?
I think this is like maybe the cheeky thing that I do in this phase. I'll go and check in a sec, but the I'm still working with Portugal, right? And Portugal is still working against the Netherlands. So when
Oh,
it
so you
comes
like
to,
support Timor into Flores
I think
while
it's
working with
something along
Netherlands
those
against
lines.
yeah, one of the things that I also did in this region that I was happy with was I got Portugal out of here quickly
Hmm.
because that way I didn't have to negotiate with Portugal in this region.
I do remember you getting Portugal out of this region quickly, and I remember it having some nasty consequences.
Yeah, it did. Yep, it really
Uh,
did. But
uh,
yeah, that's why.
but yeah, I do get it. If you can knock a colonial out of a region, it makes the negotiating so much simpler. Because especially when you're another colonial, because it just means you don't have to like tie the negotiations here to negotiations that are going on here and here and here, right?
Yeah, it's like you have two
Um,
centers over there. I don't actually care what you want in Indonesia, Portugal. Sorry. But then Portugal's like, yeah, but I bet you care what happens in Madrid or what happens in like South America because what if I talk to Amara and say, hey, let's flip it? Like, ugh,
yeah,
no, it makes and this is why colonials have such a hard time staying peaceful because as Spain, if you're trying to be peaceful with two other colonials who are at war, you're gonna have a bad time
yes.
because they're both going to be begging you for stuff in regions, and you have to tell them, no, I'm sorry, I can't do that. And then they're like, oh, so you're working with my rival then. I guess I'm going to have to go to war with you now. And you're like,
Yeah, see, the solution to that is to be strong enough that they don't want to be at war with you, so they just go, oh, okay, I guess I have to accept it.
yeah, that's true.
Uh,
Good point.
But yeah, so here I believe I am going to help Portugal take Flores and then go to Netherlands and say, that's as much as I'm doing against you here. um, we'll see how that works out. I'm trying to think if there's any other particularly relevant negotiations here, because, like, up here, for example, I'm still considered to be at war with the Netherlands. We didn't come to any peace talks here, right? And same over here, so things are kind of sticking to a similar, a similar alliance structure in this region. The only real big move that I'm making... Okay, no, there's two big moves that I'm going to make this turn. The main big move that I'm going to make is the stab on Ayutthaya. And I say main, it's actually not the main, now that I think about it. There is another major move that I am about to make, which we've kind of already touched on with the discussion over what's happening with England and France here, and whether I can reasonably stay aligned with France while letting England do their thing, right? I do look at this position, I see the build in Marseille as, this is France going, I am going to build defensively against you, don't come near me. But I look at this and I think, I think I can take this anyway, right? One build in Marseille is not going to defend this area from me, and I've got Ottomans on board, I've got a unit here. If I can maybe, piece out Austria in some way, maybe get them to disband some fleets or something, and bring this army up this way, I think France cracks really fast, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious if you make the same stab here.
Probably not. I want France to counterbalance Austria still.
Well,
and so I don't think me getting more Marseille and Genoa, I think are mine, right?
Mhm.
I don't yeah. So
yeah.
it's tough to excuse my fleet sticking around in Ligurian Sea, of course. But, I'll find a way to bounce with Tyrrhenian Sea or something to have it stick around. But I probably wouldn't go hard against France here.
Mhm.
Probably. I don't know. He doesn't have any fleets. If he didn't have that pesky core in Genoa, 0%, because he has the core in both, it's like he could put down two fleets at some point. I mean, I know that he won't, but yeah, I don't blame you for doing it. You saw dots, you're gonna take them.
The possibility is there, yeah. I think Austria doesn't need counterbalancing just because Ottomans... Well, okay, no, Ottomans are being pushed in by Poland, but, Poland is the bigger threat on this front, right? They've gotten into Kiel, Lubeck, Bremen over this side. They can collapse in on Austria pretty quickly if they want to. That's at least my thought on this, but I am looking at that from a bit of a balance of power perspective. I should say as well, Poland is working very closely with Russia. I think we haven't touched on that, but Salt and the Polish player were, rock solid through this, at least through this stage of the game. It's so weird to me, right? Because Salt stabs all the time, but somehow he always finds someone who he doesn't stab, for at least an extended period of time, possibly the whole game. And I don't understand how anyone trusts him to do that, but somehow it always works.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's not very relevant to me in this position. Shall we go ahead to the moves?
Yeah, let's do it.
Alright. I think... Oh, there was one big thing I missed. Hang on. This negotiation right here. Aymara was, very, very insistent that they get a center. Which I think we discussed in the last episode was why we weren't able to make any progress down here. We had a guaranteed moveset, but it would have required Aymara to not be the one to pick up the center, and they just didn't want to do that. So as part of the negotiations around this, I'm like, I see a guaranteed center that you could get. How about we convoy your Exura unit all the way over to Australia?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that works.
And I was very happy about this. We get Portuguese support from Coral, right? And Portugal is very happy about this. because they get Aymaran support into Wagaman on the fall turn, and we hit Mapuche hard in this region. And of course, I'm mostly happy about it because it gets this unit away from me.
Yeah.
But
put that unit someplace where it can't hurt anyone.
Exactly, and an army in Australia is never going to do anything to me ever again, right? Whereas this one is potentially a bit dangerous. So I was so happy to offer this. When I spotted this possibility, I was like, yes, that seems perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, it kept them on side and made them happy, and they're going to move away, right? All of their units moved away from you this turn.
Yep.
Perfect.
We managed to get into Bellum, I believe, here. Yeah, because we cut Carib. We get into Carib as well. And Poland is coming down because I've offered them support into Parmerbo here to help with this.
Yeah, well, she might even give them.
Yeah, I honestly think a Polish unit there isn't much of a problem for me. So
you're going to take New Courland, right?
Well, I was not supposed to on this turn. We'll get to that.
Yeah, but if I'm supporting, no unit can even get to No Courland, right? Caribbean Sea could, but...
Barbados gets bounced out of Guyana.
Oh, it gets bounced? Oh,
well,
you still take New Courland.
Well, the thing is, I probably get bounced out of New Courland here, right? And if I recall correctly, Poland does immediately say we need to self-bounce here, arrange a bounce between Caracas and Barbados. And so, sadly, that's not on the table right now, although we'll talk a bit more about it when we get to the clean map here.
Sure.
But yeah, if you look down here, you'll know that, again, Mapuche guesses correctly on these moves and manages to protect the correct center here. And they're maneuvering basically everything south to try and kill this Portuguese unit in the Malvinas and to, mobilize their fleets to a more defensive position of this region, I think.
Yep.
Which feels correct.
It is, but man, sometimes you're just outnumbered.
Yep. This is just the problem with getting 3v1. There's only so far tactics can take you in diplomacy, and as amazing as your reads are, you are going to lose eventually if you're outnumbered.
Does Portugal have a unit in whatever is the sea province adjacent to Australia?
In the Australian one? This one
here?
here?
Yeah, Coral Sea.
Oh, yeah. Yes, they do have Coral Sea. So they are going to come into Wagaman with Aymaran support. That's part of the deal for convoying this over here.
Oh my god. Oh, and then you're going to get to take Timor and Danny. Oh no, because he got supported out of Halmahera Sea. Oh. Wait, no, but he supported held celibacy.
Hang on, were you thinking I should stab Portugal hard here? Or...
Yeah.
I can't actually... This doesn't connect to Timor.
He doesn't support Timor? Damn it. But yes, no, I was absolutely saying that you can take both of Portugal's cores in in Indonesia.
So it's actually kind of interesting that you raised that, because Portugal was pretty continuously... I'm not sure if this was one of the phases where they did, but over the course of the game, they were pretty continuously coming to me and asking me, are you going to stab me here? I know that I'm an open target, and, if you do stab me, that'll really suck. My response to that most of the time was well, you've been a rock-solid ally for me this game. I think you're much weaker than me. I was being very upfront with them about this fact, right? They're, they're, here on the leaderboard, number 19.
Yeah.
They're almost certainly not going to be in contention for the solo at the end of the game. And so the phrase that I would use over and over and over again is, goodwill is so much more important to me than a couple of centers. At least in your position. In some positions, a couple
Portugal specifically, you value goodwill more than a couple of dots.
Okay, there are some powers I don't value the goodwill of.
For example, where you've just brutally stabbed 1 billion times.
Okay, but this is...
Amara that you've stabbed, and Shoshone that you've stabbed, and...
I didn't stab Shoshone, they stabbed me.
Yeah, fine. And then... Netherlands that you stabbed, and Ayutthaya that you stabbed.
Okay. I get your point, right? But
But with Portugal specifically, you promised that goodwill matters more.
but no,
You promised.
I know it sounds like a joke given everything that I've
No,
been
but it's
doing,
real.
right?
It does. And some positions are different. And your argument is, look, these two cores out in the Indonesia just aren't a threat to me. You've only got 2 units. It's not that big of a deal. I can mess with you everywhere else if I need to, and we're not messing with each other. A little bit of stability to balance off my very aggressive position elsewhere is important. You feel a war with Athapasca's brewing, like, you want to have some allies. It makes sense. It's
Yeah.
real. It's just
And like
balance in all things.
I think it's also like you have to choose the people that you want to build goodwill with and be aware that like they're the people that you need to keep goodwill with. If you burn your goodwill with someone at some point, quite often that's not a player you could rely on anywhere in future in the game to do stuff for you, right? You can make deals with them, you can still come to some kind of agreement, but it's not going to be someone you can rely on the goodwill of to get you something. So in the end game, for example, with Portugal, if they're in a position where they can't win, maybe they help me get to the win because I've never stabbed them or done anything to wrong them, right? Because, you know, at that point, their position in the game, they're not going to get to their goal. They will have to figure out a different goal, and maybe we can get one that aligns that with my win. So, to me at least, the goodwill of those certain players who can influence that kind of situation is so much more important than a positional stab on them. And I think the other player that it's relevant for with me here is going to be England. Right? Because England has offered to vassalize themselves to me, and this is exactly why I'm not considering taking Jamaica here. I think that at this point, building goodwill with England is going to be super important, because, yeah, I can potentially end up in a position in the late game where England will just throw me those Caribbean centres back and get me over the line, right?
The other colonials in ImpDip are an interesting power to have as a quote unquote vassal because they are the strongest vassals you're ever going to find, but they can be similarly far from a victory because they need to get to so many centers. If you have one that wants you to win, they can still have 15 units on the board, but yeah, a 15 center colonial is irrelevant in the purposes of actually winning.
Yes.
So that's a good point to recognize that a colonial can feel like their game is hopeless, but still have a huge impact on the board. And if you're the one who can take advantage of that, that's a big, yeah, that's a big edge.
Yeah, and it's so different from standard diplomacy, right? Because you do get those kind of positions in standard diplomacy where someone has no chance of a good result anymore, or even
But they always
they
are
are,
irrelevant at that point.
yeah, they're 100% sure to get eliminated, but they don't have the units really to help you that much. They have to be in very crucial positions in order to effectively use that goodwill. And, I mean, quite often they manage to, but it's a bit different from
They
a
don't.
position where a 20 center power might decide, yeah, I want this person to win. Right?
Yeah. Because, hey, they can't. Like, 20 centers sounds like a lot, because in our context it is, but if you need to get to 60, they're a third of the way there. It's like being a 6 center power when someone's at 17, and you're like, yeah, I don't really do have much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Rip.
Well,
Makes sense then to keep goodwill with England and Portugal
yes.
in pursuit of getting them to throw to you.
That's the hope. Long term, maybe they'll be in a position where they can help push me across the line in return for maybe like helping them achieve some kind of goal, like England wanting to be in control of the entire Caribbean, right? If they do that and then help push me across the line, that's absolutely worth it for me.
Yeah, the England one in particular, it feels so different to me from Spain. From Portugal. First of all, there are so many more centers in the Caribbean that we are selling, and then second
Yeah.
of all, the Caribbean is so powerful that once England controls the Caribbean, we have all of the centers adjacent to the Caribbean. And so the hope is that they just send all of their units into the Atlantic Ocean and then retake their capital, I guess. But I uh, this one I am less what you've done with Portugal and Indonesia, I completely understand. I think that makes perfect sense. When you've explained it, it's probably just better than dotting him for a couple of dots. Like, I think that makes a lot of sense. Also, I have PTSD. Um, but with England and the Caribbean, I'm still like, yes, using England short term to kill France first is a priority. I completely agree with that. But I think I would be setting up to stab England, and I would be planning on stabbing England to take all of the Caribbean centers once he's locked in.
Mhm.
So, yeah, difference of planning there, but whatever. We'll see how this goes, because this might go very well, or go very poorly.
Yeah. I think the big difference is that with Portugal, I'd be like I won't be wanting to build goodwill, but I'm not necessarily 100% invested in that goodwill paying off, right? I can probably get a decent result even if Portugal decides, screw this, I'm going to attack Spain. Whereas if I do give away the entire Caribbean, I am reliant on that goodwill paying off, because if England decides, I think I want more centres now, there's not much I can do about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. So that's a lot of discussion about the situation down here in particular with regard to Portugal, and like I think it absolutely warrants that much discussion. We haven't looked that much at the moves. You'll see me like maneuvering this unit over to Riff. It's getting into position to be convoyed back across here. You can see I'm getting into Algerian Sea, Strait of Bonifacio, Gulf of Leon. This will provide a very long convoy route that will serve to move one one army.
Wow. Algerian Sea, Algerian Basin, Strait of Bonifacio, Gulf of Leon.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ligurian Sea is going to support, presumably.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've got Aquitaine as well to help support that over. A big part of that reasoning is just, like, Ottomans are very happy with me now. They're providing a bit of a bulwark here. I don't want to be involved in Africa very much. Like, Abyssinia is pushing in. African politics are honestly a mess for this entire game. Abyssinia and Ajuran are hard aligned from the very beginning. And Mali and Congo are generally aligned against them, but they end up, like, these two end up flipping on each other repeatedly at some point in the game, and I'm probably not going to pay enough attention to when that happens, but I was very glad to not be involved here. It did spill out into the global chat quite often, and, like, there was definitely some bad feeling between some of the players here. But anyway, so I was very happy to just get out of there. You'll note that because I had nothing else to do with Marrakesh, I decided to core with it, which I think is a really good province to be a core, right? Would you agree on that front?
I think it's fine. If you're planning on contesting Africa, it's a great core.
Mm-hmm. That is the question, right? It's a great core if I'm planning on contesting Africa, which in turn means that the fact I'm coring it is going to make everyone in Africa nervous that I'm planning on contesting it. And that's exactly what happens. Mali immediately comes to me and goes, stop that, stop that! This is not allowed.
The fact that it's the only core that you've done this entire game, and it's like the 4th year or something, makes it raise more eyebrows.
Yeah.
If you were spamming cores all over the place, I think they would look less, and they would be less of a tell. Because, like, yeah, if you have a core in all these different regions, it's just a hold. But with you coring just Marrakesh, it's like, huh.
Yeah.
But, I mean, also, what's Mali going to do?
They can potentially push up to Gdames and make my life a bit nastier, right? If they pivot out of this area. Right now they're working in close alignment with Poland here, which is unfortunate for Portugal, obviously. So I think they are going to be a bit of a powerhouse. I've been trying to convince Poland to go after them at this point, but they just wouldn't bite. They were like, I think Poland was making the sensible choice here of saying, I'm always going to be the lesser power in this region, so I'm just going to hard align with someone I can trust and stick with them, right?
Yep.
And they would not pivot away from that. But
yeah, I mean, stabbing Mali here is insane for Poland, right?
Yeah, probably. I mean, they could have got into Coros.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's insane. But that didn't stop me trying to pitch it. But yeah, so Marley tells me to stop coring here, and I actually do just stop coring on the next turn, you'll see. I don't want to bait their wrath, which means...
Sure, you didn't tell them to bite me. What you gonna do about it? You gonna stop me? Come up here and say that to my face.
The problem is they will, right?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think they can afford that.
Well,
I think if they started to vote units up north, Congo's going to capitalize. And that's when you can tell Salt, hey, your ally's overextended. Get him.
Salt. Wait.
Isn't Salt Poland in this one? Oh, he's Russia.
No, Salt is Russia. Poland is Salt's ally.
Okay. Well, you could tell the person who's smart enough to ally with Salt, yeah, your ally's over... Because that's what Poland is hoping to do with Salt anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So have them do the same thing with Mali. Anyways, it's fine.
Yeah, well, right now Mali and Congo are working together against Abyssinia, I think. They're also, you can see they're working together against Portugal, who has somehow got a unit here. I haven't been watching how that happened, but... I think Portugal actually retains this time, because there was a cut here and a cut here. But yeah, Mali definitely has the units to pivot and make my life annoying up here if they want to. So I don't want to annoy them just to put a core down. It doesn't feel worth it. Yeah. It's kind of interesting how different my approach to cores have been to yours. Just not doing it anywhere. But yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to play slow, right, and use cores as excuses to hold units down and to not show my hands for an extra year. And so I did a lot of cores. And then once you have the cores, like, your position does get improved. Like, I don't know, there's a lot of, like, Caracas was a big one, obviously, but, like, a lot of the ones in my game, for those who haven't seen, which by the way, you should watch my game for, it was also fun. Like, having a core in Galapagos is really nice. It makes you trying to attack Mapuche much faster because you can just build a thing on the South Pacific. Getting a core in Hawaii is nice because you can just get in the North Pacific easily. I forgot where else I cored. Oh yeah, I cored Marrakesh also because I was do the same trade for Canaries, and so if I want to build a fleet in the Atlantic, I can do it. And so, like, and then I cored whatever, just the other things later. But
yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yes, I still to build, but it's also not worth like pissing off people to do it. Probably.
Yeah, I do think this is the first time in the entire game I've had a hold that I needed to do on a non-cored supply center, because most of the time I've been moving most of my units in this game just because I've been stabbing people so often, I guess. So the idea of coring something just didn't really occur to me, instead of, like, taking advantage of the momentum. But yeah.
Yep.
So...
And your position's going great, so it makes sense.
Yep. And then I think we've already looked at this, right? We haven't really looked at this too much.
Looks like it's still pretty much the same plan.
Yeah, I think this was an arranged bounce. I think England is trying to push in here, but France manages pretty solid tactics to avoid it. In fact, they bounce Poland.
Out.
Yeah, this is cut. This is cut. So nothing moves in this entire region, and they bounce Poland out of Guyana Current. So really good tactics on their part.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then North America, I'm still, like, pushing in against Shoshone and helping Athapasca push in against Shoshone. And I'm not... I think Netherlands have just decided they want to try and maintain these two dots, which I think if they had hard aligned with France and gone south, they could maybe have made my life a bit more painful here. But maybe they don't want to do that given the negotiations that are going on down here, right?
Yeah. But importantly, it looks like you're also supporting Athapasca against France.
Yes, I am. I want to push them this way because I do not want them coming this way.
Yeah, but then Athapasca going after France is really good news for you.
Yes.
Obviously.
Agree completely. I was very happy to see this. And
yeah.
Just the way that these movements are going, it looks like this region is going to be relatively empty, which is fantastic for me. Not that I have any kind of stab opportunity through it. I think that would be really difficult given the lack of units. Yeah.
You have a prime salt stack. You could take a dot or two from them and piss off your ally in a place where you're pretty weak. But
uh,
you also might be able to get Shoshone on side. I think they would go with you here,
I
right? I think if you take Baja California while stabbing Athapasca for Lakota and Iowa, you can tell Shoshone, hey, look, if you just disband your fleet in Baja, then I'll be at peace with you, and we can be fun.
mhm.
And then I think Shoshone might say yes to that even, and then you have a buffer in California while you try to push up the Midwest.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was, but someone, I think it was this phase, even did reach out to me and ask me to side with Shoshone and move against Athapasca, right? Because Athapasca was growing relatively strong. I don't think it was France, it might have been Netherlands, it was something. I do remember sending the initial message to Shoshone and going, hey,
Oh,
is
sorry,
there
you
a
don't tell
way?
them this. This is something you do after you take Baja California.
Ah, right.
And
Yeah.
then you say afterwards, hey, I've taken Baja, but look, I don't want to take anything else.
hmm
Right?
See,
Let's work together.
I remember sending the initial message, and then I remember feeling bad because I looked at the map again. I was like, I do not want to take this fight, not with the amount of units I have here. So
Man, if you had the
Shoshone
extra army.
replied to my initial message that was going, "Hey, maybe there's some ground for us to work together here." And they seemed pretty enthusiastic about that idea, and I just didn't reply to them again because I was,
He
I,
didn't even say, hey, I'm sorry, I reevaluated, he just ghosted?
yeah,
Ah, oh,
um,
God. Well, yeah, you have to kill them out of shame now.
yep.
Alright, fine.
So sorry for that
God.
one,
If
Shoshone.
you
That was
ghost anyone in our Imp Dip game, Captain Meme, I swear to God.
okay. For context here, because I'm sure the viewers will find out about it sooner rather than later. In this, if you're in ImDip, you've probably already seen it. We're playing a game called the Ice Cream Invitational at the moment, named for a strong player called Ice Cream Guy, who's also playing in it. We are both playing the same power and alternating between spring and autumn phases who is in control. I think it's going to make for an incredible commentary. I think it's honestly worth spectating if you want to hop into the ImpDip server to do it. Just
Each of
because,
us have a private void in our channel where I am spending all of my time ranting about Captain Meme.
yes.
And I assume he's doing the same thing in his.
No, I'm very much just chilling out
Along for the
and
ride.
thinking, I'm sure Ezio will fix a lot of the problems that I might be causing right now. But yeah, that's going to be a very fun one. But it doesn't concern this game, so we
Yeah,
probably
it
won't
doesn't.
speak
But don't
about
ghost
it much.
anyone. In your games, don't ghost anyone. If you send someone a deal and you need to back out of the deal, you can stab them, but don't ghost someone. Ghosting is bad. We don't like that around here.
Yeah, I do ghost more often than I should, but yes, ghosting bad. I can confirm. Anyway, I think that about wraps up everything for this turn. We spent quite a long time on it. Shall we move ahead to the next?
Yeah, let's do it.
Alright. In fact, I'll just move ahead to the next moves, because, I did...
Yeah.
I forgot. Yeah. I tried to bounce the unit out of Natuna Sea that was coming in from Nakhon Sea here, but of course it was on the other coast, so it went to Malay. So I end up walking out of Cotabato, and the unit we knock out of Celebes Sea retreats there, which is not fun.
Yeah, unfortunate.
Okay, very important other move I missed. These Ming fleets coming into Luzon Strait and Philippine Sea. This was not agreed, obviously, and
Yeah.
that is very worrying. Not least because I've only got the one unit that can defend Manila against the two, so I need to get the Dutch help to hold that now. Assuming that even doesn't get cut. So yeah, anyway, let's move ahead. And here, we do see, I basically say to the Dutch, hey, can you come to Manila, please, and help me out? I think they say no, but I was trying to convince them, so I left the order in anyway. And Ming just snipes it from me, and of course Ayutthaya takes Cotabato as well. This was not a great turn in this region for me. I do get into Banjarmasin, so I make up for this one, but not this one here. A little bit
Yeah.
painful.
Yeah. Oof.
I do think this is quite important, taking Sulusi back, because Sulusi is like absolutely vital for holding this kind of region, right? But Formosa coming down as well, this is really not looking good. And of course, down here, the Dutch try and support Flores back to Timor. This wasn't an agreed thing or anything. This was just them trying to take the guess on Flores going back to Timor to try and defend against them tapping it.
Southbound straight
Yeah.
with Flores and Coral, so.
Oh, yeah, that is true. That is what they were trying to prevent. They're getting this unit out of Timor. But it doesn't work, so the Portuguese get this one off them. But the relations between myself and the Dutch in this region are actually quite good at this point, so that's the upside of what looks like a pretty terrible situation outside of that. Right. Yeah, so here the bot doesn't... The convoy was too long for the bot to handle at this point in the bot's life cycle, so it doesn't show the full arrow, but this does get convoyed all the way up through into Marseille and double supported, so it does go through. And in fact, I didn't even need to double support it. Marseille unit just walks out anyway to try and protect this against Aquitaine. So, yeah. And I believe I get Naples. Oh, I lose Rome in return for getting Naples because they can cut here and then support in here. I could have just cut Adriatic, but I thought they would probably go in from Adriatic, so I would lose Naples if I did that. Right.
Yep.
Pain. But anyway,
Pain.
we are slowly making progress, and this can retreat to Tuscany. Sorry?
How'd South America go?
Yeah, let's go have a look at that. Okay, I will talk about this unit up here in a second, because it's one of the more interesting things that happen this phase. Here, I believe everything's going kind of fine. I do support Poland into Palmorbo, right? And I get into Kalina here. No, I don't get into Kalina.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, I get tapped here, but I keep...
Yeah, you support Poland into Palmorbo, as described. Stay peace with Amara, and then you take New Courland. You kept cutting it off. Okay. Right.
Okay, I wanted to discuss this at the end of it because it was...
Oh, ended it? Fine, ended it. Great.
It's fine. We can discuss it now. So, obviously, Poland tells me, hey, I want to bounce in New Courland this turn to keep it covered against potentially the English fleet that's here, right? And to keep it covered against me, obviously, because I might walk in. I do want New Courland. It's not so much because I want the center, right? I think right now, this turn I'm doing well enough that I don't need the center. It's because Poland is gaining, and Poland has already said to me they want to establish this as a firm colony, so if they gain, they are going to build here. 100%. So if I don't take this, then I then have to deal with 3 Polish fleets in this region instead of 2, right?
Yeah, the easiest way to get a power in the region where you have a one center colony, the easy way to get them to attack you is to say, hey, I want this to be a real thing.
Yes. Because
they're going to look at that and say, I don't want that to be a real thing. Not a chance.
Yeah.
So, makes sense. Rip New Courland.
Now, importantly, I still want to be working with Poland. I want to keep my good relations with Poland, just generally speaking, partially because they're moving against Austria here now, right? They're coming into Prague, and that's helpful for me. I think long-term, they're going to be a super important ally in the European theatre, because I'm attacking everyone else.
Yeah.
And they're on the other side, so we like squeeze out everyone else. That's perfect.
But you just don't want them to be a thing in the Caribbean. That's fine.
Exactly. So I give the excuse on this one. I had this bounce arranged, right? England then comes to me and asks me, "Hey, can you support me to New Courland? Because I'm getting the
Yeah.
Caribbean. That's the agreement here, and I'm losing some centres." I go ahead and say, "Well, the Dutch aren't adjacent to Norfolk anymore, so I'll walk out of Norfolk and let you keep that centre, and instead you give me New Courland for now, and we'll trade these two later on, right? Because I want my fleet on the front line here." And also, I don't really want to support England in, because I think that will make Poland much more mad than if I take it myself, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. When you support someone else into their center, oof.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which it makes sense, to be clear. So that's a rational thought process to have from Poland. Because
Yes.
everyone in diplomacy understands that, like, if I'm playing with Captain Meme would rather have a center than let me have a center. Always. But
Yep.
if there's a time where not only we know that's true, but then Captain Meme is saying not only does he would rather have England have a center than I have a center. So I can't even be number two. I am at best number three now. And I'm probably much lower than number three in reality, because England is probably not his number two. So supporting someone else into a center, way worse than just taking a center yourself. Obviously, stipulations apply, such as you're a very small weak power supporting a very strong power into a center, using the argument of I needed them to not kill me.
Yep.
Right, that one often flies, but like in this situation, obviously, yeah, it's better to say, yeah, I wanted the center, sorry, as opposed to, yeah, I wanted England to have this center.
Yeah.
Question mark, question mark.
And even just the tactical position is much better now, right? Because Caribbean Sea is such an important province as well. You kind of want that to be occupied. If England comes out of there, I'll have to backfill it on the next turn, I guess. That doesn't feel as good.
Yeah, the Caribbean Sea is obviously a busted province.
Yep. So the way I deal with this, I tell England, "Hey, yeah, support me in exchange. I'll walk out of Norfolk," which I do here, and I get New Courland. Then after this phase goes through, I go to Poland and I say, "I'm sorry, I'm such an idiot. England came to me and asked me for New Courland," which is obviously true. If you're telling someone a lie, base it on the truth, because it's much easier to do. I said I couldn't do that because we were bouncing there. And I think they just got angry and decided to mess things up.
Yeah.
And Poland bought it.
Perfect. Oh, God, yeah, my ally, the person that I've been working with as I walked out of their other center over here, oh, they just happened to support me in the air center. Oops.
Yeah. Like, I think it was
Wonderful.
more believable than it sounds in the commentary, perhaps. Because England...
I mean, if Poland bought it,
Yeah. Because England was viewed at this point as quite erratic in what they were doing, right? They'd already been wiped off the map in most places. So I think people viewed the idea of them being this person who would just do randomly something like this to annoy someone because they didn't get their way and get into New Courland. I think that matched with what some people thought the English player would do, which it's hard to explain that in a commentary so well, right? But
yeah.
it is an important part of diplomacy, the way that you're reading the players. Yeah. So, I should say it wasn't really the impression that I got of England when I was playing this game, right? Quite often, they seemed like someone who was a reasonable player but had been pushed out of their position so hard in the early game that they just reset their goals to the point of, I want to screw France because they screwed me out of the early game, right? But two other players, I think that looked like I'm someone who's hell-bent on revenge for any little thing, even though it wasn't a little thing. Right. You may notice that these moves here are very, very odd. I'm curious if you can figure out what England is trying to do here.
Let Mona passage into Cape Haitian. Then Puerto Rico comes up to Antioch Current because Santo Domingo might be bouncing with Puerto Rico in Antioch Current, and then Sargasso Sea slips into Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
But then why not move Cape Haitian out?
So the way that this was a recommendation that I gave them, which in retrospect looks terrible.
Never listen to Captain Meme's tactical advice.
I
Oh my
genuinely
god.
thought it would work, right?
He's insane.
Okay. So So King of Prussia is a really strong player, right? The guy who's playing France in this situation.
Yeah,
I
you
was
assume he
like,
was just gonna
okay,
tab everything and let you walk in behind him. Okay.
yeah, I
Sure.
think he will go for the order set that guarantees that he doesn't lose anything. Which, in this scenario, is Domingo and Puerto Rico both tap anti-as current to make sure that it can't support a move into either of the other two. And then Mona Passage taps Cape Haitian, and Barbuda taps Sargasso. And the way that that works, all of these units are tapped, so nothing can support anything into any centers, right? And if you have those two both tapping anti-as current, the only way that you get the jump on France, you can either go for Mona Passage with Caribbean Sea, but obviously that doesn't work because we're trying to target New Courland here. So the only way that you make any progress is if you prevent the self bounce that's happening in anti-as current, the double tap that these two units are doing, by supporting one of the two and moving in behind it, right? So what I thought would happen would Cape Haitian supports anti-as current through to Mona Passage. This dislodges this, right? Santo Domingo and Puerto Rico are moving to here, but the English unit in Bahamas pulls Puerto Rico out by giving it an extra support, and Sargasso slips into Puerto Rico behind that. Barbuda ends up coming out to Sargasso as well, which I don't know if that's the best position for us to be in, but it certainly ruins France's defensive position, right? If it works.
Real snazzy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, to everyone who was telling me to go for the big plays last game,
Yeah.
right? With everyone who was like, oh, you should go for the convoy. This is why you don't go for big plays in diplomacy. This right here.
This is exactly the move I was thinking of when you were explaining that. So, you really should have seen Ezio's series by now if you haven't already, Imperial Diplomacy 2. I'll explain a little bit of what we're talking about there. He had a position where the enemy's defensive moves were so obvious. Well, yeah, they were obvious enough that you could enter exact counter moves that would completely destroy their position, right? If they enter that. But if they enter anything else, then going for those exact counter moves will screw you over. And Ezio did not go for the exact counter moves, and the enemy ended up playing the exact moves that Ezio had predicted, so you could have taken the risk and gotten it, right?
Yeah.
And so in that one we were saying, especially me, I was going, why the hell didn't you do that? It would have been so awesome if you'd done the exact counter moves and destroyed the position in one go. This is the flip side of that, right? You go for the thing that works against the one move that you're sure they'll do, and then they do something else, and you lose Cape Haitian and don't gain anything at all.
I will say this position is a lot worse than the one that I had because you're forced to use Caribbean Sea to mess with New Courland. The way this position actually looks, you kind of only have 3 units against 4 from France.
Yeah.
But also, I think you're perfectly happy to have England get Cape Haitian disbanded.
It's not actually disbanded in this case. It
Oh,
gets
it
the
retreats
retreat
to NTS
into
plans, though.
NTS. Yeah.
No, we hate this. We hate everything about this. Okay, yep, great. I'm glad.
So France ends up going +1 and England goes -1 in this region, although they do keep that, so yeah. It's just painful. And I'm very sad. I think if I was the one with all these fleets, I probably would have made the same call you did and gone, I'll go for the safe moveset because I'm not 100% sure that this will work. But because it wasn't my position that I'm gambling with, it's kind of easier to recommend this kind of thing, right?
Yeah, when you're advising someone else to do some nonsense, absolutely.
But God, I regretted it. This is...
Again, it's just England. Although, if England thinks you set this up, because France's moves are a little sus. Like, if Antia's current just supports Capation and Santo Domingo, things get a little worse. Not that much worse, but still, like, I don't know. It's
Well, they get into Cape Haitian in that case, right? Because we don't have anything that can defend it. Well, unless we use Caribbean Sea, which we're not going to, right?
yeah. Again, everything sucks because you have to use Caribbean Sea. It's fine.
Yeah. So this is anyway. This turns out badly, but I'm in Windward Passage now. We've got Caribbean Sea. We're gonna have Antilles. We're gonna have Sargasso, and we're gonna have Mona Passage against 4 French fleets in on the dots. So hopefully we can leverage that, but it's a bit of a tough position regardless. Yeah.
It's
Anyway,
fine. Again, France only has a few units and can't build anything anytime soon because it doesn't have any cores. So it's an inevitability at this point. France is going to get crushed in the Caribbean
yes.
and crushed in the mainland. It looks like. So
Yep. It's just a question of how long. Actually, Portugal slips into Nantes even here, so France is having a rougher time than you would think. And I think they were thinking they would get some kind of support into Iceland that doesn't actually materialize. So, not a good turn for them. I think they still have a position down here somewhere. Kind of. But again, that's not looking great either. Yeah, not a nice turn for France. Their most solid position is up here, and of course Athapasca is attacking them. Athapasca gets into Fort Detroit. I cut Seneca for them, and they're making them move forward here slowly but surely. Inuit coming around this side as well, to try and take position. Although I think Inuit is going for St. Anthony's and St. John's first. Right. Oh, this Gulf of Mexico fleet. I was gonna convoy Yucatan up to Muskogee, which is what it's set to do, but we had some talks about what we were gonna do versus Mapuche, and I ended up going to convoy it down to Chiloé instead. Curious what you think of that decision, because it feels like a pretty massive decision to make, right? Whether you get the extra unit up here or down here in the south.
Yeah. It is a big move. I do agree. I think they're both fine. There are more dots to be gained in South America, so I think it's a fine convoy. Getting the convoy into Chiloé is really strong. Obviously, it's not like. Yeah, I think I like this convoy more than just moving it up. Like moving it up is just an easy reposition. It's very safe. Whereas down here, like yeah, you actually got the jump on Mapuche, so there's now a rogue army in their back and their place they've been trying to reinforce. So
Yeah.
they're unhappy about this.
Um,
Pretty good. I like it. Yeah, some solid.
Yeah, I think part of my logic as well was that I don't think Athapasca would have been particularly impressed with me putting more armies up this way. And I kind of want to encourage them to go up here next, right? Or just stay positioned against France. I don't want them to bring more units down to this line. And it feels like we're getting to a place where like, maybe we can demilitarize this area in the future. They've demilitarized it to some extent already, right? So I was a little bit hopeful, but I'm still very scared of them. Very scared indeed. So, I am looking around to see if there's anything else to talk about. I do manage to take Aquala, which is the last thing that I'm gonna get in the arranged split of Shoshone. Oh, this is super important. These Tokugawan fleets. So at this point in the game, people start talking about the Death Star, right? And this is the Death Star right here. Tokugawa just continuously...
So pretty.
Yes. Tokugawa just continuously tries to... So Tokugawa is very possessive of North Pacific Ocean, right? Which is, I think they have every right to be. That's kind of how you need to play Tokugawa. Make sure that people can't come through here. Otherwise you end up like the Tokugawa in Ezio's game. Which didn't turn out so well for them. But the way they've done that here is that they just continuously fill as many of the provinces as they can, and then send out one fleet at a time in a seemingly random direction with a million supports. So everyone starts talking about this as the Death Star, and everyone is like around them is like negotiating with Tokugawa, saying, "Please point the Death Star somewhere else." I'm fine with it as long as it doesn't come my way. I was so terrified. Like, if the Death Star comes in this way, I'm very scared. To say the least. Yeah. I don't really have a way to prevent it, right? I don't think they gain a ton from it, because there aren't a ton of centers that are easy pickings on this coast. But it would definitely cause me issues, especially at a time where Athapasca is looking very strong as well.
I mean, because you're helping them.
Yeah, that is true.
See, Meme is the pet. Yeah, anyways. It's great. I love Captain Meme. He is such a great ally to have. He'll prop you up and then use you as an excuse. I mean, I do the same thing. Everyone does it. It's good practice. But are you going to keep attacking Ute Shoshone here? Or are you going to try to peace out with them?
So keeping attacking is an interesting word for it, right? I don't think I'm gonna interfere in Athapasca's murdering of them. Because right now, Athapasca is here, they just got into Miwok. Shoshone has Yokuts and Paiute, right? And they are gonna lose those. Right? Unless I prop them up. Which I do not want to risk a full-scale war with Athapasca just to keep Shoshone on 2 centers.
I mean, but you'll have 2 extra units in your war against Athapasca.
That is true. That's if you view the war as inevitable, alright? Which, maybe it is. I mean, it kind of is. There's so many units.
What else are they going to do with all their armies?
I mean, maybe they can get them convoyed off. What did they do with their armies in your one? Like, Shoshone... Right? Shoshone ended up putting them all over here.
In our game, yeah, because we controlled North Pacific. We made that our priority. Are you gonna get Tokugawa to convoy Shoshone into I don't think so. In this game state, I feel the war is inevitable. I also know the war happens, so it's clearly inevitable.
Okay.
Because I have future sight, but also I think from here, I would have felt that way. So here, I probably would have tried to flip Again, I would have taken Baja. I probably wouldn't have taken Sonora. But I would have sniped Iowa here.
Maybe.
Yeah, because I could take Iowa by bouncing in Lakota. They actually can't retake Iowa, and Iowa is so far from any of their cores, and their units on their eastern front are tied up against France, that I think their position is not going to be great.
Do you think they stay tied up against France? Like, remember that I've stabbed France 3 times at this point, and I'm at war with the Netherlands. If I stab Athapasca as well, I feel like I might just face a united front over this entire front. That feels dangerous.
I think these units are not very flexible here. Oji-Cree is kind of flexible. But especially if Shoshone is hitting Athapasca, which of course they'll be to try to retake their capital and stuff, then Athapasca won't make any progress in the west. If you go for this, you'd almost certainly be convoying back up to Karankawa or Muskoji instead of convoying down south.
Yes.
I think you need an extra army or 2 on this front. But I don't know, you can build you can build an army in Saltillo and St. Augustine. And then, have armies in Caddo, Apache, and Muskoji to go with everything else?
Yeah, See, I'm having trouble disagreeing with you, especially knowing what happens later. But...
Yeah, I mean, it is not a guarantee, right? Even positions that look like inevitable wars don't always become wars.
Yep.
I think the things combined with you guys both being top of the leaderboard and all of these armies being there makes it... Yeah, it's tough.
I think at this point I do start negotiating with Athapasca to try and clear these units, and end up with some kind of position where they only have 1 unit adjacent to Arapaho, which we'll see start to become a thing as we go
Yeah.
along. But yeah, it won't finish becoming a thing.
Alternatively, right, you could just say, hey, Athapasca, you only have to get to what, 28 centers? They're a 5 center starter, right?
32.
32?
They're a 4
Yeah,
center starter.
32 is a lot of centers.
Yeah. They're
Um,
currently on 12, but they need to gain, I
yeah.
think, out of this area at the very least, right? Because even if they do push in far on me, they don't gain that much. They
Oh,
do
yeah,
gain
they're
much.
going to try to conquer all of North America first, for sure.
Yeah.
Hmm. Oh,
But yeah. Athapasca, I mean, I was very, very worried about them. They are an esteemed mind of diplomacy, I think. It's like they're... they were just a very strong player, and it did come across, but I was really hoping we could negotiate some kind of agreement where I didn't have to fight them, because I didn't think a fight with them would go my way, even if I do get the jump on them.
I mean, you're literally thoughting them for a single thought and stabbing like a 12 center ally for it.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're going to be more than 12 centers because they're making gains everywhere, right? They're gaining 1, 2, plus 4 Detroit. Do they gain anything else off of France? I don't think
I don't
so.
think so, no.
Yeah,
But,
but they're still 1 plus 3. So they're going to be on 15 centers. They would be on 14 if you dotted.
yeah, also
So,
be aware this area is relatively open. I mean, it does have 2 Inuit dots. Actually, 3 Inuit units. It's not open at all, right? But they could snipe Dena'ina if they wanted to. Although I think
yeah,
I'd be very happy if they did, because then Inuit comes after them too, right? And that helps me out a bit.
correct.
But yeah, so if we just look at the South American, like, South-South situation, Mapuche ends up losing Tucapel here as well, to a guess. They try and tap Santiago
He
and thought that
failed.
it would.
He missed.
Yep. He finally missed. And he loses Sao Paulo and Cordoba at the same time, gains Escunchan, but like his position now is just completely untenable. He's got 2 units, 2 centers here, 2 centers here, and these are gone. So, yeah, gonna be in a lot of pain on his side of things. I think
Yeah.
that's probably about everything that we need to talk through this phase. That was a lot.
Yeah, probably it's everything. We might have missed something.
Yeah, is there anything else you do want to discuss, or shall we move ahead?
Let's go ahead.
Oh, wait, one move I do want to point out as well. This was quite fancy. Portugal definitely has the worse position than Poland in this war between Portugal and Poland, but they do manage to get some fancy moves off, and this is going to be incredibly annoying for Poland to deal with now, having an army in Wallow behind them.
Yep.
Yep. Alright, so,
Yep.
moving ahead, we have retreats. I don't think there are any massively relevant ones, apart from Pucci going all into SBO. Oh, and I go to Tuscany. I guess these aren't all that relevant to me. Yeah, and that unit coming off the board. Alright, so builds. Builds. We now have the new VSCC rankings on the side. You will know Athapasca has moved up to 3rd place after Poland. Then we've got Tokugawa and Ming. Ming is actually getting kind of dangerously strong, at least on my front.
They took a center off of you. They are dangerously strong.
Yep. People aren't allowed to do that. They should stay with other people's centers. This is completely this is actually doubly annoying because they've also taken my core and they're pinning in the other core, so I'm not going to be able to get any reinforcements here anytime soon. But we'll see how that goes as we go along. If we go into the actual builds here, I think I build on the French front. Yeah, one in Barcelona. Which,
Yeah.
feels necessary. I think I need to probably convoy this over to Genoa or something, or move it up to Aquitaine, just to get enough force to punch through all these French armies that have come down south now. I do build another fleet, St. Augustine. I don't know why I did that. That doesn't look like it's necessary, at least to me. Yeah.
And unless you're going to war with England, right? But I
Yeah.
think it's good to stay safe.
I'm definitely not planning to go to war with England here.
Oh,
Oh, I was really sad about this. I tried to convince England to not do this, but they were like, I knew it was going to take my senses anyway. I'm just going to give it. I wanted England to have some kind of like presence over here, so I wanted them to take off Iceland instead because that one's definitely going. But yeah, they decided to do that. And then I forget why I built Army Panama. I feel like that was because I want to get another unit in position to convoy down to here.
I guess. Yes.
Oh no, I think I remember. It's because Aymara didn't want me building another unit in South America. Like in
And Panama's definitely not South America.
Exactly. Like I think I sold this as I'm not allowed to build up here. Like my agreement with Athapasca says I can't, but I need to move it up north and then convoy it. Which
Sure.
I mean, yeah, maybe I should just have built in Bogota or something instead. Because like what Aymara could be annoying potentially, but I don't know. It's quite important to have a unit somewhere down here. But yep, I end up with Panama. Honestly, looking over these builds, I'm not sure I was making the right choices. Mexico City is because I'm panicking about this over here. The Death Star. And then, of course, I have no other builds because this area is jammed up. So, shall we move? Let's go ahead and move on to spring 1646. Forget which variant we're playing. What is the important thing that happens here? Oh, right, so we actually do manage to negotiate our peace agreement here, like our DMZ. And this was the thing that was crucial to me. I was like, okay, I realize you need to keep Gossuth where it is, because I'm gonna have Arapaho, right? Hopefully, eventually, we can just move out of all of this stuff. But for now, you need to keep that there. That's fine. But I need you to be out of Crow and these other centers around Arapaho be demilitarized. And I figured if they stab me right here, right now, by going into Arapaho, at least I get an early warning, I guess. I have this extra unit moving up to Apache, right? I can form some kind of defense. And yeah, backing out of it doesn't seem like a huge cost for potentially a long-term Athapasca alliance.
So. Yeah, no, Cato's fine. It's a good place. Plus, you are probably going to want more units on the Eastern Front, right? We're cleaning up France.
Yep.
So, yep. Cato is a great place. Cato's like the most important province for Spain in North America. Like, it does everything. It's the Burgundy of your position.
Yeah, it's certainly very important. I really like Muskogee as a province as well, right? It borders 1, 2, 3, 4 centers and can just get you very quickly from... If you're convoying over from somewhere, can get you very, very quickly into the action. But Cato is very good too.
Yeah, Cato borders 5.
That is true. That makes it better.
Yep.
Right.
The fact that you can convoy to Muskogee is obviously wonderful.
Yeah.
I kind of wish it just didn't exist and that St. Augustine was bigger, but that makes St. Augustine too strong.
Yeah, I think that does. Although it will give you the interesting decision of, do I build army or fleet St. Augustine again? Because fleets here are obviously almost the best fleets you can build as Spain.
Yeah.
But
best Caribbean access plus best North Atlantic access.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, by the way, because you'd assume that you could build stuff in Spain that get to the North Atlantic more easily, but not really.
No.
You gotta go, like, it's such a pain. Build a fleet in Gibraltar, straight to Gibraltar, Sea of Azores into North Atlantic.
Yeah,
Such a pain,
it
man.
takes so long. I do
And
think
that's assuming it's
actually.
all open. Yeah.
Sorry, carry on.
Oh, I was just saying that's assuming everything's open, which it's never is,
It,
because Portugal doesn't want you in Sea of Azores.
yep. It's also like if Canary Basin linked to Strait of Gibraltar, there would be a much easier route out that doesn't annoy Portugal as well as
Yeah,
much,
but
right?
that
But
doesn't exist
that's
because
not
they need
there.
Sea of Azores to mess with Rabat, I guess.
I think I do remember why I built this fleet Saint Augustine now. It's because France has this unit in North Atlantic Ocean, and they have just a bunch of fleets over here, right? And England is saying, I'm going to commit all my fleets to here. I'm like, okay, well, someone has to make sure France doesn't get to here. So I guess I'll mobilize out. I don't know whether that was the right choice, because this is just... I don't know, this is quite a slow mobilization, it feels
Yeah, it
like.
doesn't feel great. And again, like, if you view the war with Athapasca as inevitable, then building armies to prepare for it is good. But also, escalating conflict makes it more inevitable. So trying to de-escalate is a good way to avoid it. So
Yeah.
building fleets instead of armies can help.
I, yeah. And we are making progress against France together, so I'm, like, especially with this happening, because I know we can arrange a bounce in Arapaho this next turn as well. I'm feeling more confident about getting along with Athapasca long term.
Yeah, plus the moves, right? Right, Athapasca moving all of their armies to the east. It's a much more tenable plan to say, yeah, we are going to crush France here in North America, and then we're going to control North Atlantic Ocean slash kill Inuit next, and then either convoy armies to France or Athapasca has another target next that's not you.
Yeah.
And so for you being like two enemies down the line, that's infinite time. You'll be fine.
Mhm.
So it looks pretty reasonable.
Yeah. Sorry. I think Athapasca lose Fort Detroit this turn, as in Erie kicks them out, right? Because it had Seneca's support. This got cut, but I can't cut that one. So Fort Detroit is going to have to retreat to Ojibwe, but I think they can just push straight back in with the position that we've got. So everything should be fine on that front. England doing this, I'm not sure about. It is going to harass France a bit, which is a good thing, right? But I think that fleet was much nicer being out and mobilized, and mainly stopping this fleet from coming down here and doing this. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember if we make any progress in the Caribbean here. I've got to read this situation.
You get supported in the Cape Haitian, so you actually do take Cape Haitian. And it looks like, yeah, it looks like this just works. Because Antilles Current is getting supported into Santo Domingo. So you're going
Yes.
to take both Santo Domingo and Cape Haitian and bounce Antilles Current. So you get both and pop them both.
Yeah, that actually looks perfect. Okay, so it
Yeah.
wasn't the worst case scenario after the last turn.
Yeah.
In
Plus,
fact,
you end up in Caribbean Sea to backfill. And yeah, this is great.
yes. I think this was something that Poland like made conditional on us working together. They wanted New Coland back, right? And I was like,
Oh,
well,
man.
I think I still like the fact that I can work with Poland over here, especially them coming in on Austria and forcing all the Austrian units to come back, right? I'm happy to sell them New Coland back here because they can't build in it if
Not
they take
yet,
it
yeah.
back. So, yeah, that was my thought process on this one. I get pushed out this way and everything's still kind of fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Super important thing this turn, actually. You may have noticed the Dutch aren't mobilizing from here. This probably isn't enough to tip anyone off. But down here, I am moving full scale against Oimara now. And I pull away
Who
from
could
the
have
Dutch to do
seen
it.
this coming? None.
Okay, so I probably would have done this anyway, But Aymara went completely silent on this turn. And in fact, these Aymaran moves, I found out after the fact, were entered by a spectator because Aymara just wasn't present and dropped out of the game. So I was like, I can't really work with someone who's not messaging me anymore.
Yeah. Fair.
But I think it's a pretty decent stab anyway, to be honest.
Yeah. I don't know if I like the move to Axor. I kind of would have rather moved to Nazca Ridge.
Yeah, maybe. I guess if you have a unit to backfill here, which I guess I would if I wasn't so obsessed with keeping Chiloe. But, like, I'm moving the units down south to backfill. It just takes a little while longer, right?
Yeah, it seems fine.
Yeah, but most importantly here, this agreement with the Dutch is part of a larger deal. Myself and the Dutch have been talking since the basically getting each other on board in this region, right? The Dutch bringing me on against Ayutthaya about potential ways to de-escalate in other regions and start actually working together instead of just working together here. And my main condition for that was I want you to stab France. I really don't care, like, if I don't get all of this stuff. As long as you stab France and basically take France out of contention, I'll be very happy. And the Dutch have a really good stab opportunity in fall, right? They have this unit on Brattolid. They have this unit on Ireland. They have this unit on Cayenne. I think they've got stuff down here. Maybe they don't. Oh, they've got 2 units on Reunion as well, right? So they could potentially go up quite a lot by attacking the French here. And I think they saw this, and like I was like, okay, I really want you to attack France. They weren't entirely trusting of me at this point, and they were like, well, France is the one person who's stuck by my side for the whole thing, and actually hasn't attacked me, right? I want some kind of guarantee first, and this was my guarantee. I went to them, okay, I'm gonna back off you. In this region, I think I said I'm giving Bellum back. I can't remember if that was part of the condition, but I think it was. Yeah, I did that. I bounced. This is an arranged bounce in Carib to keep me away from their center. And this is all on the condition that they go for the full-scale stab on France in the fall. So, I'm curious as to your thoughts on that. Because, like, looking at it now, I don't know whether I needed France to be weakened that much. Like, given...
I mean, obviously you don't need France to weaken that much, but it's classic diplomacy. Like, when you're attacking someone, you want them to be exploded. You want them to be under as much pressure from as many people as possible. It's just an instinct.
Yes.
Because so many times in diplomacy, they're also wheeling and dealing. And if you take a turn off, if you get complacent with your position and feel that they're going to get, that you have them beat anyways, and you don't need more help, quote unquote, that person that you don't need to help you actually ends up helping them, and suddenly they're in a fine position now. Yeah. So if there's someone that you don't necessarily need, you still need to get them to buy in because you don't want them helping your opposition. So, it's a good play. Like, just get people to buy in, finish your enemy, boom, move on.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's maybe represented, like, France is still gaining centres with this support into Iceland and with getting supported back into Nantes, for example, right? But most of their progress is coming because they're working with the Netherlands. So if you can cut that off, hopefully... Well, my hope was that their unit supply would dry out and they'd get so frustrated with someone like Netherlands, right, that they just take this off and focus on either the bit that they've got here or just on getting revenge against the Netherlands. Which... that's a bit of a longer shot, but given that this is their capital and they probably don't want to lose this area and they have a lot of centres here. But that was the hope. And that was the deal that I made with Netherlands, and so that's a big reason why I'm stabbing Aymara right here, as well as the fact that Aymara just stopped talking to me.
Yeah, I mean, Aymara is a great reason to stab him.
Yeah. I can't remember if we stabbed them in Australia. Oh, I did. We did this in coordination with Portugal, right? I think
Yeah.
Portugal...
Portugal's going to get South America then. And Portugal's also hitting Mapuche.
Okay, I think actually Portugal doesn't, at this point, is still trying to work with Aymara themselves, but they know that I'm going in against Aymara, right? So they're positioning to take Gunai as well. Which I... Suddenly this convoy across might end up being a bit of an issue, because if this army retreats to the outback and just stays there, these two Portuguese units are going to be pinned in and not be able to do anything. But that's not a me problem, that's a Portugal problem, which is fine by me.
Sure.
Right. So yeah, that's basically what's going on in South America. We're still killing Mapuche, of course. Yeah, Portugal getting Teluci, getting Buenos Aires, getting Escuncion, and saving Malvinas at the same time. So suddenly, really... Yeah, Mapuche is about to die.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that about covers the America situation. Oh, over here, I think part of the deal that involved this was that the Netherlands gets Norfolk and we bounce Philadelphia so that Philadelphia can then try and stab Seneca on the next turn. But the Netherlands didn't trust me to do this, so they just held in Maryland instead. So, yeah. Anyway, moving across to Europe, I'm still continuing my war against the French. You can see I convoy units at Corsica because I don't... Like, all of these fleets are doing stuff, but I want to get it closer to the front line.
Yeah. Corsica's a nicer place, and they don't have to go for the double convoy, and Bonifacio can get into the Tyrrhenian Sea and stuff. Seems good.
Yeah. And yeah, Corsica is a lot more flexible than Army Barcelona is, at least in terms of where it can go via convoy.
Yeah, like you can convoy something... It's not that much more flexible, actually. But it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine.
Yeah, I don't think I make much progress here. Like, Marseille gets bounced by the Savoy unit coming this way, so really all I gain is this move to Genoa.
Yeah, but that's going to help. Means you can probably crack Savoy in the future.
Yeah, I think so. And of course, Ottomans are getting into Adriatic Sea with support here. I was really hoping that would mean that I'd be able to get Italy, but actually Ottomans ask for Rome on this next turn, and I'm like, I would prefer to keep Ottomans on side, so I put them in Rome instead. As long as it comes off of Austria, I'm happy, right?
Yeah, and I mean, having the Ottomans shove all of their fleets up into the Adriatic Sea instead of being in the Med proper is the dream. It means you can bottle them up in Ionian at a future point.
Yes. Yeah. They're away from Sicily now, so I can make a stab at some point. Unfortunately, the bit of this area that I have not shown you is this bit down here. Where it turns out that my extremely generous peace proposal of not coring Marrakesh seemingly did not help keep the Malians away from my centres. So as Sahara 3 comes up to Rejabat, Sahara 2 goes up to Ghadames. I can't hold Marrakesh against this if they just...
Rabat is a fleet? Oh, brutal.
Yep. It's so painful.
Big sad. Oh, well, losing Marrakesh to Mali at some point later in the game? Man, wouldn't happen to me.
God.
It did happen to me, as everyone understands.
Yep. And of course, my ally in this region is Ottomans, who has one unit, and their other unit just got blown up. So, this is not great. I think I can hold the coast, generally speaking, because, like, I have control of the Mediterranean. The Mediterranean is really, really useful, but I'm clearly not going to be able to hold this area, and Mali is going to keep pressure on me here, which means I have to focus so many units down this way. That's just gonna be painful. And, yeah, nothing I can do to keep Marrakesh. Just pain. And I think, actually, I moved to Strait of Gibraltar here because I can't think of anything else to do with this, and we think that Portugal will be moving this like, I think we had some idea that Azores might be moving out or something this turn. I don't remember how we got that idea, but I thought Portugal might be out of Sea of Azores, so I might have the opportunity to move this out. But nope, I think it's suddenly very, very necessary for keeping things on this front. Yeah, not looking good. Right here. And this is coordinated with Mali moving against Congo. This was just a very worrying turn in terms of Africa in general for me, because previously we mostly had Abyssinia-Ajuran versus Congo-Mali, and it was kind of a stalemate. Now Mali flips to Abyssinia and Ajuran's side, so suddenly it looks like Congo is probably going to get forced out, and they might resolve things and start moving outwards, which I really don't want to see.
It's always sad when people get their shit together.
Yes. And I believe this is actually an arranged take with Poland, so this isn't even like a stab on Poland. I can't really convince Poland to come this way either. It's, yeah, not good. Not good at all. I do try and negotiate my way out of this. We'll see how that goes as it goes along. Other region, the Philippines. So, there is a super important thing that happens right here. Ayutthaya is coming to me after I've stabbed them before, right? And I've given my reasoning for stabbing them. I think that I can't really afford for them to gain full control of the region. But I am under very heavy pressure from Ming. I certainly don't want Ming to just run over everything, and Ming is doing quite well up here, right? So Ayutthaya and I come to a deal, which is, I obviously still need to keep Netherlands on side, given everything that happened with Netherlands before. In fact, this deal might have been made last turn, actually, looking at what happens here. But I still need to keep Netherlands on side, so I'm not going to move against Netherlands. But from this point on, I am giving Ayutthaya Netherlands moves every turn, and Ayutthaya will be able to counter us as a result of that, right? Which, I mean, it's one of those deals that you cut because you have to in this situation. I think it's super important that Ayutthaya not mess with me, so I'm willing to, like, give up Banjarmasin. In this case, this was all arranged, right? I was hoping that Natuna wouldn't cut Sambas, but this ends up bouncing out. And then the condition is, as long as Ayutthaya receives Netherlands moves correctly from me, they won't mess with me with anything I'm doing over here.
Yeah, sounds perfect. Keep at war with each other while you struggle to stay afloat. Although, it does look like you're not going to stay afloat anyways.
Yeah, this is pain. Halmahera obviously can't support Hold Cebu, and they've got Philippine, Manila, and Mindoro now. They can hit that with 3. Just generally painful. Yeah. I was not happy about this situation, but...
I mean, Philippines have been on rough for a while.
Yeah.
You've been struggling to stay afloat, but now a third party. Like, when it was just you, Netherlands, and Ayutthaya, it was already tough enough. And now with Ming getting added to the mix, it's tough.
Yeah. Very much so. I'm actually wondering, I need to look back at the situation last year, because I might have cut this deal with Ayutthaya on this turn, even? No, it was definitely on this turn when Ming came for me. So, yeah. I am feeding Ayutthaya Netherlands moves from now on. That's the important thing to know about this this region. And Netherlands obviously is not aware of that. Alright. Is there anything else you want to talk about, or shall we just move ahead?
Let's move. Let's see him.
Alright. So, going on to fall moves 1646. We do have, over here, for example, you'll see that Ayutthaya is not bothering me over here, and I think Ming thought that they were going to cut Sulu C for them, but didn't directly ask for the cut, and so Ayutthaya used that as an excuse not to cut that unit, and so I actually managed to hold Cebu. here. Not only do I manage to hold Cebu, I get into Philippine Sea, because they went in with Philippine Sea here.
Perfect. That's a huge one.
Yep. And, Ayutthaya knew that Netherlands were going into Kosubatu with this moveset, right? So they use this. Again, this fleet is on the other coast from what it appears. They use this to get into Natuna Sea and guarantee that, and keep Kosubatu at the same time. So, I think I also give away what they're doing over here, but I I don't know what Ayutthaya was thinking with these moves. It's either a misorder or it's a deliberate attempt to get Mughals to side with them by misordering, right?
Hell yes.
Yeah. And the other thing that happens in this region, obviously the Aymaran unit here gets knocked out by Portugal. So no more Aymara there, although they have the retreat, of course. Alright, let's go to Europe. So, this is bad. We've got Ghadames getting into Marrakesh. We couldn't do anything about that. Ottomans try to keep Ghadames, and I try to help them with that, but they can't.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Mali also gets into Tripoli. Jeez.
Yeah, it's suddenly becoming very painful situation up here. I did initially convoy to Corsica with the intention of convoying it north, but I think it more than justified the convoy south here. And in fact, this was what I was trying to use as a negotiation tool. I was saying to Mali, hey, you know, if you come for me like this, I'm gonna have to put a second army in Africa. I think you would really prefer if I don't. Is it worth you taking one dot here? You know, I'm fine with you just keeping Ghadames, just don't take Marrakesh and back out of Rejabat, and do back out of Rejabat, and I won't have to move this unit in. And I think I outright informed them towards the end of the phase, I'm convoying Corsica in, bounce me out if you don't want it there.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, but they don't. They take Marrakesh, so I'm sad. This up here was arranged. Portugal taking Rabat. I think it was arranged under duress. I was not particularly happy about it. I say under duress. Like, it's not Portugal forcing it upon me. It's me saying, I think it's worth keeping Portugal's goodwill by giving them a dot when they're asking for a dot, right? But they definitely asked for it. I wasn't overly happy about the idea of giving it to them, but I felt like it was worth it to keep them happy. So, yeah.
I hate this.
Do you want to explain why?
What the fuck? They don't get that. What? That's mine. No. Bad.
It's one dot,
smack them with the stick. The thought I'll help them get is Azores.
Okay.
That counts.
So this is Portugal's eventual idea here, right? They want me to get Azores here and then use that as a mobilization point into the North Atlantic Ocean. They want this, like, I haven't been talking that much about the relationship with Portugal, but I mentioned a couple turns ago that they were constantly asking me, are you going to stab me here, right? They were not very trusting of me, and they wanted this fleet away from them, basically, into the North Atlantic. So this was part of the thing. We trade Rabat for Azores, essentially, but it's a one-turn offset trade, so it actually makes me go down a center for a year. But yeah. Yeah.
No, I would have... Rabat is a way better center than Azores. They can have Azores. It's their core. Let them have it. They have to deal with North Atlantic Ocean, not us.
They didn't want it, though. They wanted me to have it.
Well, they can... It's theirs. They get it. They get it, not me. No, they don't get Rabat. Bad. Smack. Smack with a stick.
So, no, this is, again... I do agree with you. I don't think it's a deal I would have taken generally. Like, if Portugal is my equal ally in this game, I think I stay in Rabat and I I think I like Rabat more, you can take Azores. But they're not an equal ally. They're a much weaker ally who I want to keep as happy as possible. So I'm going to agree to random things that they say like this that might be a little bit disadvantageous to me, but hopefully keep goodwill, right?
You could keep goodwill with them by still, like, just saying Azores.
Yeah, but it's not as much goodwill.
Yeah, but that's where the charm factor comes in. You gotta laugh at their jokes and then give them Azores.
Fair enough, I guess. But anyway, this was the approach that I took, despite it really being something you're not happy with.
This one, oh god. I'm letting this person control my country. Oh, no. To be fair, this is the first one that I see that makes me want to tear my eyeballs out.
I really don't understand why. Like, I get that you like having that center more than them being in there, but it doesn't... It's not like game losing for them to have Rabat. They might stab for Tangier at one point.
That's why, because it's so minor. Right? It's like, I had a fleet there. They're taking it with the fleet, and then they're going to move their fleet back to see if Azores?
I think that was the idea, yeah.
Yeah,
Although...
it's inefficient as hell, and it does things with the wrong person having the center.
Sometimes you have to do things that are inefficient in order to make other people happy. That is my logic on this.
Or you only work with the people that it's efficient for you to work with, and once they stop doing the things that are efficient, you kill them.
Do you think I should kill Portugal here?
Oh, maybe. I think here, just tell them, no, I'm not going to work, like, we'll take, so, like, let's go take Azores. Right, and in fact, because you asked for a bot, I'm going to cover it with Marrakesh. Support me into Canary Basin, and I'll bounce for bot, asshole. And then they go for Tangier. I guess you have to cover Tangier now, too? Nah, we're not doing that. But I'll tap Azores.
Look, the best defense on this front is just being friendly. That is my
Yeah, I
opinion.
thought that, too, but whatever.
I am being friendly. This is,
great. Let him take her bot. Okay, fine.
Alright.
Okay.
You calm down now? Can we look at some other places?
Yeah, let's look at some other place. Jesus.
Okay, well, I support Ottomans in here, right? I do get Genoa.
Yeah,
I think I get into Bordeaux as well. And
looks like they're supporting you in there. Double supported in. Seems great.
And importantly, Netherlands makes the stab on France. So they get Brasilid, they get Ireland.
They get, I think...
Try to get Philadelphia. I think they actually do get Philadelphia. Seneca with Philadelphia. Because Mont Royal is supporting a moving unit, right?
Oh, Seneca's moving into Erie.
Yes.
Yep, get wrecked. And then Fort Detroit goes. Oof, brutal turn.
Yep. Cayenne goes here. Reunion goes.
Although Reunion went to Portugal, it looks like not Netherlands.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of.
Portugal and Netherlands and I were all talking about this. I think... I can't remember if we had a triple chat or whether we were relaying stuff at this point, but it was a very closely coordinated thing. I think we were actually relaying stuff, which is why they agreed to do this, but it didn't matter too much to me, right? As long as someone takes the thing off France. Unfortunately...
And then France is losing, 7 centers this turn or something?
Unfortunately, France does get tipped off about it in some way, I think. So they go into St. Helena, and they tried to support Hold Seneca, but they forgot to change this unit's move.
But I mean, France is losing Seneca, Cape Haitian, Santo Domingo, Ireland, Barcelona, Genoa, Cayenne, Reunion. So that's 8 centers lost. Oh, plus the one in South Africa, 9 centers lost.
Yep.
And then they're getting 2 back or something.
I think we can very solidly say that France is in a bad spot.
Oof, as they say.
Yes. And I was very happy to see the stab. And actually, They're losing a bunch in here as well, right? Because Capation goes, Domingo goes. They're not losing either of these, but we are mobilizing around them. And they do knock the English out of Boston, but then England gets the retreat into Delaware Bay, so I'm happy with that. You can see I do take Norfolk here. The Netherlands actually just says you go ahead and take that because they didn't want their units stretched on this front, I think.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's fine by me.
Plus, a good way to an ally, like a good way to lose an ally, is to take a center that they clearly want and are in position to take.
Yes.
Because that ally is going to look at this and say, I mean, I want it and I will take it from you. And so if you have this, then there's a time bomb on our relationship where once my desire to take this center grows too much, I will take it from you. And that's bad. So here, Norfolk is that center. You want it, clearly. You're in position to take it. Netherlands can't hold it. Just concede it and try to maintain a relationship. Ideally, they could have... I mean, and it looks like I bet they sold it for support into Seneca, right?
I think I would have given them support into Seneca anyway, but...
Maybe, but it feels that way, right? And this way, they still get a center out of it. They get a center there that's easier for them to hold because it's landlocked more in their direction of play that they want. So, it makes sense.
Yep. And they've got their two cores open, so they could put down 1-2, bang bang, and have a pretty solid center there. I can't remember how many builds they get this phase. I think they lose some stuff as well. So yeah, you can see Poland stabbing them in Utrecht. In fact, I'm not sure it was even a stab. I feel like it was just a bad guess on the Dutch part, of thinking they could slip into Bremen, and maybe thinking that Poland was going for North Sea or something. But
Oof.
Yeah, painful on that front for them. And of course, with me feeding moves down here, they're not actually making progress against Ayutthaya, so not great there. But I think they do overall go plus a few. I guess we'll see in the winter turn. Yeah. Alright, so elsewhere, I do actually... This is all agreed, which... Maybe this was not correct. But this Caracas was a trade for Parmerbo. My feeling on this was that I'd get enough builds that I can quite easily crush out this Polish colony if I want to. They're not building anything new here, right?
Yeah.
And like two units defending 3 centers is not a problem for me. I can just sweep through and grab it at a later point. And I can keep them going after Austria by being friendly with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know if you would have made this trade.
It's fine. Like, getting into Pamerbo means you're going to be in position to stab Netherlands pretty soon. Let your army make progress to the east. So this one's fine.
Yeah, I'm curious. You want me to stab Netherlands here?
Pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
I think you have like a year or two before you've gotten Neymar kind of cooked.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it's going to last that long. And then, yeah, absolutely, I want you to...
I guess, yeah.
Take South America.
I have a few I can take here. I have this area, of course.
Yeah.
And I'm secretly working with Ayutthaya anyway, so I guess it makes sense. But I was not thinking of stabbing Netherlands at this point. I was very happy with them for stabbing France, and I was just happy for them for being on board.
France. It's not enough to let you stab them.
Yeah, well, that's where it's at the moment, I guess. I was definitely not thinking of stabbing Netherlands here. And I was really happy looking up here, right? Because they stay, like, Athapasca stays out of all of the Arapaho adjacent provinces, and they're just holding in this area. I obviously would have preferred them to back out of Goziud, but I didn't actually ask them to, because I figured I need to be out of Sonora first. So, yeah. And then we back out of all this region, and I'm kind of happy with that.
Looks solid.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, no war on this front is ever gonna happen, right?
No, yeah, it looks... I mean... We are making good progress to demilitarizing.
Yeah. Oh, I completely missed talking about this. This is...
Yeah.
Why.
Ripping you.
And also... Here. Ouch. It's kind of amusing as well. You look at these units in the Arctic Ocean, for example, you can see they're attempting to convoy something, and Sweden was attempting to convoy it as well. I believe they were trying to get this unit in Korakuen all the way into Finnmark, and then just get an Athapascan unit behind the lines. And
That would have been also great for you.
yeah, I would have been very happy to see the Athapascan unit starting to vacate, but honestly, I was pretty happy to see Athapasca stab Inuit.
Oh, really?
Anyway.
Oh, interesting. This is the red flags. We've officially reached peak red flag for me. Athapasca is no longer someone I can work with.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, they've reached peak. Uh, they are way too strong in North America. They have way too many armies. They've just apped their ally. Notice how they've repositioned their army from Mihawk down to Yakutsk.
Yeah, this should have been a
I'm
warning
next.
sign.
I'm next, right? They're moving down, right? Their army in Vig, whatever, down into that. I can't read this. The ones in the
Dakota,
middle.
sorry. Winnipeg
Yeah.
into Dakota.
Winnipeg to Dakota. They're positioning for a war against me. France isn't going to hold anymore, right? France is no longer a real enemy, and if they go after me, it used to be that they had a threat of Inuit at their back. They don't have that anymore. I'm clearly next. I will put down armies and be ready for war.
So
This is like very clear.
yeah, I think I absolutely should have spotted this. I was very happy to see the stab on Inuit because I figured that means they're going to focus on Inuit for a bit. You know, Inuit still have a pretty solid core. They gained St. Anthony's and St. John's this turn, so they don't even go down very much. They go -1.
Well, I mean, they're still down one, yeah.
But they've got 2 fleets over this side. Chukchi Sea might have moved away, actually, which would be painful. Yeah, it did.
Yeah, that.
Okay.
Well, the Death Star got back in, I think.
Death Star did get back in here. But yeah, so I was kind of thinking Inuit is going to present some kind of force that's going to hit from the north. In some
Yeah,
way.
I don't think so.
And
Not anymore. I think the stab was too brutal.
yeah, and also, God,
Like-
they have Dennett unit in reserve as well. That's that's so painful. And they got out into North Equatorial, so they're also threatening Aleutz. Although Aleutz, I think, stayed there because the Death Star bounced them out of Chukchi's. So yeah, yeah, there are definitely warning signs here. I was looking too closely at my own border and going, they are keeping away from Arapaho. I'm quite happy with that. And they are moving on the French, and they're moving Illinois back up, right? They could have stabbed for Missouri here, they didn't. So, I was hoping that would be a good sign. You can probably tell where that hope went.
And it's better than the Far War, but let's look at the two borders and how you guys compare, right? You're convoying Sonora out down south,
Yep.
right? They're stabbing their allies to avoid convoying their armies out while repositioning armies onto the front and they took from Illinois instead of Ojibwe, right? They're not doing the most obvious, clearly they're not making optimally efficient moves for war with you, but they have a perfect front. When they go to war, they're going to take everything and have a full front set up.
Yeah.
That's what they're ready for. So, yeah.
Yep.
But honestly, that makes stabbing Netherlands less likely because I actually think we're going to need the Netherlands to help here. So,
yeah.
maybe they can't even help because France is in the way. Dude, I don't know. I mean, Seneca borders Fort Detroit, so there's something they can do.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, yikes. Athapasca, big scare.
Yep. Alright, and moving on down, I guess we just need to talk about what happened here. At this point, an Aymaran... I think these Aymaran moves are also submitted by... Oh, no.
The other...
Sorry. At this point, an Aymaran replacement comes in, and I do kind of bluff with them that I'm going to work with them, I think, which is why they just go for the Dutch centers and keep moving south, right? But of course, I'm not going to. I feel like it... At this point, I'm committed hard enough that I just want to walk in and take as much as I can. Maybe it would have been better for me to move Quechua to Exura and get into position to go hard in here. But I did just want to guarantee that I took Madeira. So, yeah. And Mapuche, they're still alive in this situation, but I think they end this year on 1 dot. Yeah. Alright.
Yeah.
I think that about covers everything for this turn, so I will move ahead to the for retreats. I go up to Tangier here to make sure that I have it covered against Marrakesh, although really not liking the fact that they have unit here. And then we go to builds, and we have the new supply center count. You'll note Athapasca is now even with me, pretty much. Right? And in this turn, Poland actually creates a triple chat and says, hey, we should start planning to get to the end together, which I loved, but
yeah.
You
yeah, Poland is someone I can actually see doing that with. I don't see that happening with Athapasca.
Yeah. I think I would have loved that situation if Athapasca stayed off my line because of it. Unfortunately, that group chat doesn't stay active for very long, as you will see going forward very soon.
Yeah.
But yes, I am +2 here. Oh, this is the important one. Netherlands actually goes +0 despite this massive stab on France. I don't remember why that is. I guess...
I mean, France did a good counter-stab, right? France dotted them back in a couple places, right?
Yeah.
And then also, yeah, they lost the front to Poland. So.
Yes. And this is really painful for the Netherlands because they were really expecting to get the build here, I think. And suddenly they've got to defend this front against all of these Polish units with just the army of Munster, which is out of position, and these 2 fleets. It's, that does not look good at all. Yeah. So, it does reinforce my opinion that I should keep working with the Netherlands, because they... Yeah, they're very weak. They're probably not going to present any kind of threat or stab me anytime soon, so I can hopefully rely on them.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and we can go forward and see what builds are put down. No, Athapasca goes +5. I don't think they even have 5 places to build. Oh, they do have... Wait, how do they have so many cores?
because they have that extra... They have a core. They have a pre-core in whatever. That western coastal center on the Pacific.
Oh, the...
that one's the pre-core of theirs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's either that or Chilcosin. I think it looks like they cored one of the 2 after the fact, because they actually have 6 cores here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah.
Yeah, one of those... I'm pretty sure it's the western one is the pre-core.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember exactly. I have to check the starter map. Either way, it's one of those pre-cores. They have enough places to build, but then they waive 2 builds. They don't build a fleet.
They waive 1. They were supposed to build 5, right? I think it might have been an accident, or maybe they want to build more fleets later down the line.
Yeah, I mean they could just build a fleet in their capital.
Oh, they could.
Right, to make progress.
Oh,
yeah, that's what I was looking at.
Right. Yeah, I would not have known this at the time. I definitely did not. I think I didn't even notice that they waived a build, which...
Yeah, I mean, that happens all the time.
Yeah.
There's so many people to track.
I should have been looking more closely, but I think this was part of their piece... Wait, no. Actually, I think they might have built a fleet there that gets put down in the next turn because it didn't show up on the map. There we go. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. Please ignore the moves that happen there for the moment. Alright, well, we've been talking about them enough so far, but yeah, there is actually a fleet here that just doesn't show up on the map. Okay.
Great, makes sense then.
That makes a lot more sense. I put down my 2 builds in Bogota here, and 1 in Barcelona. Yes.
Bogota.
That's the one, I've been saying it Bogota for ages and ages because it's a city-state in Civ 5, and I've never actually heard it said, I just...
Sure. Bogota.
But
anyways, it's fine. I can't... Hearing your South American center pronunciation is very funny. Because a lot of these are still capitals from the modern day, so they're ones that are actually real things.
Yes. So over here, I put down Army Barcelona as well. Get ready to punch a little bit harder into France. That's also doubling up because I know Portugal is going plus, and I don't want them to have a stab on me.
Yeah.
But yeah, Portugal building Danny a fleet, so they're reinforcing this area. I think
Did
they
England
only...
have builds?
Did England have builds? That's a good question. No, England went +0.
Yep.
But that means they also didn't get any disbands, which is... Oh, they actually had one disband, but it was forced in Iceland.
Sure.
Yeah. And they are slowly but surely becoming the kings of the Caribbean. They did ask for Havana and Baracoa as part of the initial agreement. I can't remember when it was. It might have been around here. But I do eventually say that doesn't really work for me. I think you should keep going this way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, I noticed you don't have any fleets there anymore.
Yep, that is true. They could just walk for it. And
you've been effectively convinced to no longer be sitting around in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And you are now on the front lines.
Yep.
And they are behind you.
Which is maybe a scary prospect, but again, it's just the read you have on the person, right? Are they gonna stab?
Yeah.
Are they not gonna stab? If they're not gonna stab, then you can get away with doing something like this.
But it also means you can't stab them.
That is true. But I think at this point, I was fairly set on the idea that I didn't want to.
Hell yeah. Alright.
So, yeah. That's... Aymara actually don't go down very much. They only go minus Goyas. Oh, Portugal has another build here. Did Portugal go +3? Portugal went +5 that turn. Bloody hell. Where else did they build then? Cabo Verde, I guess. Anyway, it makes sense as to why I built Army Barcelona here.
Yeah. Anything in Indonesia? I might have put a unit down like Danny.
They did. But that makes 4, right? Danny...
1, 2, 3...
Bahia.
There's one in Africa.
Where?
Oh, sorry, that was not... I saw the green circle on the fleet in Zanzibar and thought that was a Portuguese build.
Oh, right. Yeah, no. This area is gonna very quickly become...
all Acheron.
All Acheron, yeah. They are... Like, you can see from... We haven't been looking at it much, but you can see from the lack of colouring on these provinces that Acheron and Abyssinia have been rock solid since the start of the game, right? And that is not going to change as we go forward.
Yeah, impressive. 2 regional miners in the same region who work things out.
Yep. And you can see that having a rock solid alliance from the start of the game can actually really benefit you in terms of how far they've gone this way.
Yeah, or you could just stab everyone and kill them all and do the CaptainMeme thing.
Yes, it's much more fun. But actually they haven't expanded as far as you would expect, precisely because it was very obvious that they were close together, right? For most of the rest of the game, Congo and Mali have been working together almost out of necessity to hold them back. But now Mali has flipped sides and is working with Abyssinia and Acheron, so things can change potentially very quickly. Yeah. Alright, so, that has been built. Let's move on to the spring moves. Alright, so, spring moves 1647. I have not actually brought the moves up, let me do that. You can see, I do actually notice that I'm about to get stabbed. Okay, that is good.
Yeah, that's important. That's very important.
But I didn't...
defensive move.
I didn't build on this front. I think actually I got tipped off that I was about to get stabbed, but I don't remember by who.
Probably Tokugawa.
Probably, but then Tokugawa works against me here. They send the Death Star my direction.
Yeah, but I would love to tell you, hey, by the way, Athapasca is going to stab you. And then you say, oh, great, thanks. And then you also join in on the stab. And that's a good way to get the person that you're stabbing to go the other way.
Yep. Oh, God. But yeah, I do block Athapasca out of Illinois here and get up into Missouri. Obviously, Arapaho is basically lost. I only went to it to try and bounce Gosiyut out for a turn, but I think Athapasca... They do the much smarter moveset here, right? Of just surrounding it instead of taking it immediately and basing my unit up. So...
Yeah. Yeah, Arapaho's not a good place to be. At least it's not going to get popped.
Yep.
Probably.
I will almost certainly have a retreat spot for it. In fact, I can pull it back to Apache and
Yeah.
go to Nueva Vizcaya with this one. But, yeah. You can see that I changed my mind pretty last minute here because that I changed to doing this whole thing because I was initially going to block a move to Belanga Ridge that I thought was coming, and then I didn't. And then the move happened anyway. So, yeah, now facing some potential issues, I immediately after this phase, my number one priority was I need to convince Tokugawa to not continue with this attack, right?
Sure.
This is incredibly dangerous. And the amount that Athapasca is gaining up here is just kind of insane. And, Athapasca has sold Alus in return for that, but I mean, Athapasca can take that whenever they want. Hang on, did I just go back? Yeah, I did. They do backfill Chukchi, so they can't take it immediately, but, like, this is just... I think Athapasca is just going to run amok everywhere here at the current rate.
Yep, I mean, Athapasca's big, bad, and scary.
I don't know if there's anything better I could have done against this at this point. Maybe build
I
more.
mean, Downs Kiowa.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. But other than that, like, you recognize there was a stab coming, you mobilize to the front immediately. Good moves.
Yeah.
Solid, right? That's the important part. And yeah, could you have made a slightly better tactical play? Yeah. I really like Norfolk moving down to Catawba. It's gonna head over to Muskogean quite quickly.
Yes.
That's an underrated thing. A lot of people would have just like defaulted to moving it to Tutelo. But Muskogean is a much like getting to Muskogean faster is better than being stuck in Tutelo. So,
Yes.
I love that.
I think, quite importantly, it can get across this south side, right, if Caddo is blocked by something. If you move it to Tutelo, I think there's a shot that Cherokee is just needed to hold Illinois or hold Missouri on this next turn, and so it's not really able to mobilize through there, even if you were wanting to keep it on the front line. So Catawba Muskogee is just a better route for it. But yeah, it's gonna be a painful few turns here. I think at this point I went into what my default defensive mode is and tried to look for a stalemate line on this front. I do eventually manage to find one. I don't think it's immediate, but we'll talk about it when we get to that position. Yeah. Alright, so what's going on over here? England gets into Puerto Rico. I just hit Barbuda from both sides here to make sure it doesn't manage to evacuate Puerto Rico, which they do try and do, so I'm glad I do it this way.
Yep.
And then you will see I do finally stab Poland, like properly stab him now. Slip into New Coland behind him because I knew he was going to Barbados, and then surround Caracas at the same time.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember if I think I thought it wasn't necessary to keep him on side anymore, and also, now that Netherlands is my ally, I don't really have... Like, Netherlands is obviously pushing for me to do this. I think I kind of have to. and it benefits me quite a lot, obviously. Yeah. And then down here, moving against Aymara. Down here, also moving against Aymara. Unsuccessfully on this front, but we are slowly making progress and, like, quickly making progress over this side. Is there anything you want to say about this theatre, or should I move over to Europe?
I mean, I feel really concerned about England in this theater. I remain concerned. I think this is the time where they're about to finish off France, right? Puerto Rico and Barbuda are going this year.
Yep.
And so the only question is, do they stab you before or after they finish France? And so here's where, like, I would have loved to be kicked out of Sargasso Sea and had a great excuse to, like, retreat into Florida Current or something and then walk into Bahamas. I guess Sargasso Sea can still walk into Bahamas, but here's where I want to take Bermuda and Bahamas so I can stop England from building anything over here. We reached that point in the game where, like, how many centers does England even have now?
7? No, 5.
And they're all like in the Caribbean, right?
Yep. One,
Yeah.
two,
So at
three,
this point,
four,
they're just a
five.
regional minor,
Yeah.
right? And so they don't have like the colonial ally benefits anymore. So yeah, I want to get my I like supporting them out of Bermuda. I think that's great. But here, I want to take both those centers off of them, stop them from building anything, plop fleets down in St. Augustine and like Mexico City East Coast or Saltillo or something, maybe Panama North Coast, and
Hmm.
just say, "Great, Caribbean's mine now. Thanks for doing my dirty work."
Yeah. See, I think at this point I'm almost committed so hard that I don't want to do that, right? Because if I open another front war against England, is it really that easy to knock them out of the Caribbean anymore? I don't think it is. I needed to be behind them.
I mean, we
It's
still have whatever 4 fleets to their 4 fleets in the area, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And if we put down 2 or 3 fleets, suddenly we got 7 to their 4.
Yeah, I guess if I
Even if
don't
they get,
make this stab right here, then I can pull Caribbean Sea back as well and go for Jamaica.
yeah,
That that would be a potential option. I think at this point I still have. So England has said to me after this, once I'm done with the Caribbean, I am going to gun for my homeland, right, with the fleets,
yeah, which
which
is
I'm.
the best pitch, right? Because that's a plausible argument. Like, yeah, they want to retake England back, and if they do that, then we are free to take the Caribbean whenever we want.
Yes.
It's just the promise of, oh, after you give me everything I want, I'll do the thing that you want in the future after, is right. It's a pitch we've all heard a million times.
Yeah. Again, it really comes down to the
If
actual
they're good at convincing,
negotiations.
yeah, and if they convince you that that's what they want, and they're saying they're this irrational player who's hella pissed at France and Netherlands and wants to take them down, like, yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah. I.
I don't see the press, right? I just look at the moves, and these moves in the Caribbean, I want to have like we don't have the Gulf of Mexico anymore, and
Yeah.
England can still pressure us,
I
but hey,
I almost think England's negotiation style of being so concerned with things that I didn't initially really want to give them, right? I'm trying to think how to explain this best. But I was fairly convinced that England was being honest with me, precisely because at this point, even, they were still demanding things like Barbados and New Courland off me in the long term. They were saying,
yeah,
hey, in order to be the king of the Caribbean, I want all of the Caribbean islands except for Cuba, which at this point we've agreed they're not going to go back and go for.
sure,
And I initially was hesitant to give them this area, and they did actually push me and want to take that still. Like, make it very clear that was something they wanted in the deal. And if they're gonna stab me, is that something you push hard for? Like, I don't think so. I think they were being very honest about what they wanted. Like, it just
sure.
came across to me as a very honest pitch, which I don't know if it was a pitch that was the best pitch. I think quite a lot of other Spains would have gone, wait, you want what? You want all of this when you're just this small, right? But I really felt if I gave them this region, they would be very solidly with me, and I think that would be worth it in the long term. That was my opinion. I don't want this war with all of these fleets here. For one, I think I just want England to be a vassal at this point, and I think this is the best angle to do that.
It's good.
Yeah, certainly a different way from how you would have played. It sounds like.
Definitely. Yeah, I would have had Jamaica years back. I would like England would not be in this position.
Mhm.
I would have happily supported them against France, but England would have, I suspect, at no point felt like they were entitled to all of the Caribbean.
Yes. Um,
So yeah, hey,
it's like a really interesting question as well, because a lot of the concern is over what if England stabs me after I've done this, right? But the only reason that England is even still alive is because I decided to work with them here. So hopefully the
yeah,
gratitude prevents that in the first place.
yep,
Yeah. Um and like yeah, we'll talk about it when we get to it later, I think. Let's look at some other areas at the moment. I mean, we've basically looked at the entire Americas, right? So, let's look at this area. I love how the bot at this point just does a little loop-de-loop with the army because of the way these fleets are positioned. I get this convoy off into Savoy, right? I'm not really concerned about keeping it in Portugal.
Hell yeah.
In the area of Portugal, because Portugal didn't end up building any armies, so I'm very happy with that.
Yeah. Get it out of here.
Yeah, and I am taking Azores from France with Portuguese assistance here. They want to push my fleet through onto the North Atlantic Ocean front, which, again, is something you didn't agree with, but it is something that's happening at the moment here.
You want to touch the North Atlantic Ocean? Go for it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I wasn't keen on this fleet being here either, but I was more keen on keeping Portugal on site, as we mentioned.
And I mean, I'd much rather not have France be in the Azores, right?
Yes, 100%. I think Portugal thought that France would bounce Sea of Azores here, because we clearly need this unit to still be here, given the Mali position. But yeah. At this point, I'm really, really annoyed with the Mali position. It's tying down so many units, right? In order to stalemate this area, let's say Marrakesh comes up to Ampha and Rejabat comes up to Marrakesh. I need Tangier to support hold Rabat. I need then a support hold on Rif, which I don't have right now. I need to pull another fleet back to do that. Thankfully, right now, I can just use Tangier to support Rif because he's not in Ampha yet, but in the long term, that would tie down yet another unit in Albran Sea. And then Algerian Basin needs to be support holding Tunis against Ghadames and Tripoli. So that ties down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units against, therefore, protecting 3 supply centers. It just doesn't feel very worth it.
Yeah.
Curious what you would try and do here. Like, do you just... Because Mali was very heavily pushing me along the lines of, yeah, it's going to take you 6 units to defend this. It would take you no units to give it up. And then you end up going essentially +3, right? Because you were using 6 units to hold 3 centers.
Yeah, losing 2 centers is really plus. Flip them off.
Well, he's also taking the angle of this one isn't even yours, so it's...
Yeah. No, Rabat's still mine. I flip him off. No, I tell him to eat shit. If he wants to take these centers, he can pry them off of my cold, dead hands. This motherfucker stabs me and tries to get me to give him up my centers. Ain't no way.
Yeah. I think once it became very obvious that I wasn't going to give them up, he proposed another deal of just basically, we'll just stand here and, like, not do anything. But I still wasn't happy with that. I was like...
Yeah, no, I mean, we say yes to that, as long as he's not reinforcing it.
Yep.
But also, I'm gonna retake Marrakesh before the end of the game if it's the last thing I do.
Yep. I absolutely hate these units standing here. I want to make something happen that will change this situation. And that is my focus for the next turn, but we'll get there on the clean map. Here I am holding Ottomans here, so the Austrian doesn't get in. And of course Ottomans are completely surrounding this Austrian unit, which I'm like looking at that and rubbing my hands and going, okay, all those Ottoman fleets are going to be pushing into like Venice and Trieste. I'm very, very happy to see that.
Yeah. That, like you said, when they're all in the Adriatic Sea, that's wonderful. And like moving into Dalmatia and then Trieste. Oh, yes. Hell yes.
Yeah. Seems perfect. I want to.
But also, it means we have to find a way to slip into Ionian Sea surreptitiously.
Yes.
And it's tough with our army in Tunis.
So the biggest danger that's happening right here is this: the coring on Cairo.
We have to be the ones to defend Levantine Sea. We got to get over there to save it.
Yeah.
We got to get from Ionian Sea to Ionian Sea, because then he's going to finish his core, he's going to build in there, and we can cover Levantine Sea for you, buddy, old Ottomans, old pal, old friends. Don't you worry about that mean Abyssinian army in Cairo. Yep. Don't you worry.
So I haven't been talking a lot about Ottomans recently, but I think back from the beginning of the game, there was some like negotiations that they were not happy with things with me being in regions like that I felt was kind of reasonable for me to be in, or with the making deals that I thought was reasonable is basically the thing. There was no way they were ever going to accept me going into Ionian Sea and then Levantine Sea, right? That just feels like a stretch too far. I think I warned them about this situation. I did try and push that angle, maybe? No, I don't think I ever asked to go to Ionian Sea. Like, there's no way they would have accepted that.
But Tripoli. Now that they've lost Tripoli, it's much more reasonable, honestly.
Well, they still have Sicily, but then that's mine whenever I want it, right? I can just walk to Tyrrhenian Sea and go in.
I don't think they feel that way.
Yeah, they definitely don't feel that way. They feel that this is the entire alliance is conditional on me not taking this.
Yeah, but at some point you don't really care about their alliance.
Yes.
Like if you in the fall walk out of Naples into Ionian, build another fleet in Naples, and just laugh at them.
Yeah, that would be possible. Although this Austrian unit is still in Adriatic and is probably getting dislodged, so I can't really.
Yeah,
walk out
probably
of
not this fall.
Yep. So I think that's about all we need to discuss in Europe, actually. The obviously I'm making slight progress against France by going up to Savoy here. I could have made more progress if Biscay was willing to push me this
Before
way.
you and Nantes.
But
Yeah.
Portugal really wanted that dot, so I end up going for a different approach. And actually, it ends up being that I could have just walked into Nantes anyway, but
Yeah.
I didn't. So one of the things you'll see time and time again on the like aggressive front lines that I have is I will almost always go for the guaranteed movesets over the like guesswork ones, which I think is just something good diplomacy players do generally, right?
Generally, yes.
Yeah, I'm tapping Dijon and I'm making sure that I get the convoy off into Savoy is the main thing. Even though it's not gaining me a center immediately, it is a guaranteed bit of progress I can make. Yeah.
Yep. Take the guaranteed moves. It's fine. Like, especially when you're in such a strong position, you don't have to race anything.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine.
Alright, and then over here, we have... I did get into Philippine Sea last turn, so I basically used that because obviously I'm not going to keep that, right? I mean, I don't remember if I knew that the Death Star was doing this. I think I did, right? Because I knew
kind
that
of forward with them, right? Yeah.
So I used this as a suicide cut to make sure that I take Mindoro, which is... It works out, and I think that's perfect, right?
Yep, and even it's going to pop it, so that's great.
Well, I was hoping it would pop it, but... Oh, no, they do pop it. Sorry, yeah. I think they...
It's great.
Again, I'm feeding Ayutthaya Netherlands moves here, so they know what to protect and what to go for. I think they were going to try and... Wait, what exactly is happening here? Oh, they were trying to take Andaman Islands, but I didn't know what Mughals were doing here. So I knew they were cutting Bangka, but I didn't know that they were going to do the... No, they do manage to take Andaman Islands, right? God, this area just is confusing. The fact that all the lines are on the same plane. But because they're tapping Riau Sea here, they get Andaman Islands through... what would otherwise have been a standoff. Yeah.
So Riau Sea was supporting Andaman Islands into Malacca Strait. Bay of Bengal was supporting Malacca Strait into Andaman Islands.
Yes.
But the Tuna Sea is attacking Riau Sea. Bangkok is supporting the Tuna Sea into Riau Sea, but that's getting cut. And then but Sumatra doesn't get into Bangkok because Sambas is holding that. Are you still feeding?
I am still feeding info. I think.
Stop.
So yes, I definitely tell Ayutthaya that I've been asked to support them to Banker here. So they have that support hold set. I think this whole move set was just about taking Andaman Islands, which, yeah, they managed to do. So, but they're gonna get that retreat off, which could be a bit of an issue for them. We'll see what happens there, I guess. But yeah, important thing for me is that Mindoro's been blown up. So, very, very happy about that.
Hell yeah.
Alright, so, is there anything else you want to talk about here, or shall I move ahead?
Let's move ahead. This one's good.
Alright.
Soft turn. Very clean, very stable. Rip Athapasca.
Yeah. And I actually get the retreat into Kuroshio here. Which, I could have gone to Zamboanga, but given that Tokugawa was being annoying, I was like, well...
Yeah, you want this as leverage to say, hey, look, I'm gonna take stuff from you, but, like, let's be friends instead.
Yeah. Exactly. And I guess, actually, they do convince Mughals to go this way instead of retreating into Andaman Sea, which is good for them. Right, so... On the clean map, there is something really important I want to talk about here before we go to the moves, which is the play that I make here, because I'm actually really proud of it.
Hell, yes.
Alright, so I mentioned I do not like the current position of Mali. I don't like the fact that I'm going to have to dedicate 6 units, well 5 of mine and 1 of Portugal's, to defending this, potentially in perpetuity. I'm also not happy with the fact that Mali and Congo are fighting down here, and that Congo is essentially going to get run over by this African alliance over here, right? Because the one thing you want to see as someone who's not very invested in a region, right, is that region staying balanced. You want them to be continually at war with everyone, like, continuously not making any progress is the important thing. And Mali flipping sides here threatens to disrupt that. The fact that Congo is now getting pushed in hard on this front. I think Portugal is trying to prop Congo up, maybe? I don't remember. But it's just not great from my perspective. So, the way I do that, I don't try and hard pitch anything to Mali. What I do is I just go to them and I say, hey, I'm really sorry about this, but I'm going to tap Gadames. I've been asked to do that, and given that you're not working with me at all, I think I have no reason not to, right? And I don't mention anything about the context of this tap, and of course I haven't actually been asked to tap Gadames at all, but if you look at the position on this map, the only reason I would ever be asked to tap Gadames by anyone is if Abyssinia is planning to go for Tripoli with 2. Because they're the ones that benefit. There's no other unit that Gadames can support, right? So Mali immediately makes this assumption that Abyssinia is about to attack them. Even though I haven't outright stated that, I haven't really gone to them and said, hey, Abyssinia is going to attack you, you need to be prepared against this or anything. All I've done is go to them and say, I'm really sorry, I'm going to tap 1 unit. And so Mali immediately starts assuming, oh god, I've got to prepare for a war on this front. And they come to me with what is actually an incredible deal for me, right? They go, look, okay, they initially go, please don't tap Gadames, right? If you do that, Abyssinia is going to make progress and take Tripoli, and Abyssinia is already stupid strong. And I go, well, look, I'm sorry, while you're in this position, I'm not going to accept that. I'm just not going to work with you. You're pinning down too many of my units in this position, and I'm better off working with Abyssinia here. Yeah, and Mali then goes, okay, look, I'll vacate Rejabat, I'll vacate Marrakesh. I'll move Marrakesh into Gadames and Gadames forward. You support hold me in Tripoli, and I'll essentially get off your line completely and give you what you want. Because they think they need to make that deal, right? They're weak to Abyssinia. They need the help.
Yeah.
And I go, you know what? I think you've convinced me. I'll support hold you in Tripoli. Yeah.
Sweet.
And then you see going forward, I think they actually moved to Sahara, right? But they're out of Rejabat. they're out of Gdames, they move Marrakesh out, and I throw the support hold on Tripoli while Abyssinia is just sitting here clawing stuff and holding.
Hell yes.
I was so happy with this play. Like,
Nice move.
it's such a kind of minor thing. All it does is means that I don't have to have so many units tied down on this front, right? But it felt like the play of the game from the negotiation standpoint, right? The fact that I only said really one tiny sentence and it led to all of this. And
yeah.
Halfway through the phase, Abyssinia messaged me saying, hey, I've heard what you're doing. You're telling Mali these lies. And I just didn't reply to him because I didn't want to give him any leverage.
Yeah, no ammunition there.
Yep.
Stay quiet.
God, I was so happy with this. I don't know.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's just sick. That's like the classic play of say just the right thing to get people to move. He's clearly in a tenuous relationship with a regional ally who's big, who has another very strong ally. It's a really natural concern that this person is going to attack them. Like, and then you said it in just the right way, in a way that makes perfect sense. Like, of course, like, I don't know, yeah. Right? You just say, hey, I'm giving you the heads up on this. This is what's been asked. It's a very reasonable ask. Like, I don't know. I perfectly done.
Yep. Well, I'm I'm not usually one to hang back and enjoy the spotlight on great things that I've done, but this one I am so happy about. I'm just prepared to abandon any humility and say I'm awesome sometimes. That one was great.
That was great. Like you gotta make good, like you make good moves. That's that's good press. And yeah, de-escalating this border, it's not insignificant.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I mean, it's kind of insignificant on the global scale, right? But it does free up quite a lot, and it leads to potentially sniping Marrakesh.
Their armies. Like, getting... As you've talked about in the past, and I'm going to reiterate here, in diplomacy, if you can get your neighbors to move their units away from you, you are doing very well.
Mm-hmm.
That's the, like, huge. You got Mali to move his units away from you. He moved 3 units away, right? That's big.
Yep. Yes, I agree. And also, like, I think as Mali, it makes sense to cut a deal to something like this, right? I don't think I pointed it out last turn, but the move that Abyssinia made was out of Fazan and to Jalo, which kind of sets up that they are planning to go for Tripoli, because this prevents that kind of retreat. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that it does just make sense, and of course, as Mali, you're always looking at the Sahara and thinking, oh god, what if someone gets into the Sahara? I've got so much that can just get murderized by that. And of course, Abyssinia has the unit next to the Sahara to do that with, right? So you do need to be cautious like this. It all makes sense what they did, and I mean that was the beauty of it. Alright, so yeah, anyway, now that I've talked about the African things there, we can go to slightly less interesting stuff, and stuff that didn't go quite as much my way. Particularly, okay, this I did know was happening, I think.
Oh, man.
I was kind of sad about it. I definitely did want something there to protect against a fleet from Cairo.
Man.
But yeah.
Fine.
It's very sad. This was the main thing that I was really annoyed about, was Rome supporting Venice, Adriatic back to Venice.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Ottomans and Austria cut a deal here and started working with each other again. And that wasn't Ottomans working against me in any way. They were perfectly open with the fact that they had cut a deal with Austria and didn't want to go any further because it would benefit Poland too much. I was just like, oh no.
Well, I mean, yeah, because they have 3 fleets, and these fleets definitely aren't working against... I mean, honestly, they might try to retake Cairo, and so they might be locked down for a while, but, like, them getting out of the Adriatic Sea is not good for us.
Yeah, it's sad. Okay, it is combined with one other interesting thing that happened this phase, which was right towards the end of the phase. Ottoman came to me really excitedly and went, "Oh my god, I got Salt to do assault."
Okay.
I was just like looking at this and going, "Wait, what?
What
Salt,
the fuck?
Salt is not stabbing Poland here, right?"
You can't be serious, man. No. No. That's not real.
It's so bad. I don't know what to say about this.
That's the worst stab I've seen in my life. Oh my god. And I've seen you play Bornu, man. Holy crap. This is the worst stab ever.
Yeah, so note this is a fall turn. Poland, they're taking one dot here and moving into position on Poltava and then into Novgorod, which isn't even adjacent to any Polish
And they
SCs.
still do. No. This was agreed.
This was
This
not
was
agreed.
agreed.
This was not agreed.
Salt-
I found out
No.
this.
No way. Post game, they were assault. This was actually a stab.
This was actually a Salt stab.
Oh, come off it.
So I believe Salt thought that it was essentially a +2 because he'd agreed to give Trondheim to Poland, which
Doesn't make it any better.
Yeah, instead they bounce Poland out of Trondheim, which I feel like you could have just said, "Hey Poland, I'm not comfortable giving you Trondheim. Let's not do that exchange," instead of doing this. But yeah, this was
Oh my god.
utterly hilarious.
Okay. Well, look, Salt is going to salt at some point. Good job, Ottomans. Well played.
I think also Salt was like looking at the board and thinking, okay, Poland is losing everything here, right? And actually Poland doesn't lose everything here because I have to guess between Caracas and Palermo, and I misguessed.
It's fine. I'm over it. It's like Poland isn't going to last long in South America.
Yes. We actually don't manage to blow up Barbados either because they can retreat to Guyana, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. He looked at this region and he thought, okay, Poland's going down some. And then in this region again, it looks like Poland is temporarily going down some. They're losing Utrecht at least, and they're not immediately making any gains, right? So he's like, okay, Poland won't be building. So I can make my stab now and essentially carry it through to the next year. He won't be able to respond on builds. But it's still so bad. I just don't know what to say about this one. It's just...
I mean, hey.
Yeah.
Having Salt as 2 neighbors away is great.
It really is. I have to recommend that. If anyone's ever playing a game with Salt, play with them on the other side of the board.
Alternatively, God. I just joined a Hello Dip game with Salt.
Oh no, are you next
For
door?
the 2 of us and the II.V Colonial.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
Alright, well,
so,
I'm looking forward to commentating that one.
yeah, expect the recording of this in like 6 months, everybody. Where you'll get to see my PTSD. Oh god.
Alright, well, yes. So this was Salt doing Assault. That is basically Europe. I think I forgot to mention when we were looking down here. In fact, I do. Okay, so I end up coming to an agreement with Tokugawa that we are going to work together against Athapasca. I'll look more at North America in a sec, but the important thing here is get them out of Berlanga Ridge, make them work against Athapasca.
And even taking North Equatorial Current is great. We love that.
Yes.
And then you even got to do this and basically said, hey, we'll take a center from Ming instead of from you.
Yes, and in combination with that, because we're all kind of afraid that Ming is getting quite large, right? And Ming has also made this move against Tokugawa. I don't know whether it was...
agreed or what, but it's fine.
It might have been done the turn before, like the stab on them. No. Okay, so I don't know whether Tokugawa knew this stab was coming. They probably didn't. But, everyone in this region was kind of looking at Ming and going, okay, Ming is getting a bit too large. So Ayutthaya goes in on them, Ming manages to predict that they'll go in on them and defends. But importantly, we finally cut a deal down here, right, between all three of us that, okay, we're all going to peace out at this point. Ayutthaya can go north and deal with Ming, and me and Netherlands can do something else. So you will see this is my, I think, second core action of the game. I knew it wasn't going to go through. It's that unit is getting disbanded, and this unit is getting disbanded as part of the peace talks here.
Sure.
So yeah, that's what's going on in this region.
Yep, letting you have some stability in the south, but you're not getting close to taking Manila back, are you?
Well, the Netherlands
You're
are coming
making
up
some
into
progress.
the Philippines.
You're back in the Philippine Sea, and you're still in Mindoro? Okay, never mind. Yeah, this is great.
I've got
Yeah, you
some
have
room.
Yeah, you've got
Annoyingly,
it.
I could actually have taken it this turn, but I thought that was going to support hold.
I mean, come on. You can't expect it to just randomly hold. So it's fine.
But yeah, basically this is like a reassignment of my focus entirely to the north. At this point, I'm giving up on ever having any real influence here.
Didn't you have Mindoro tap Manila?
I probably should have. Oh no, it was because the if you tap Manila with no. Yeah, I should absolutely have done that. You're right.
Glares.
God.
Be efficient with tactics. Come on.
Look, it wouldn't have made a difference here. Philippine Sea ended up moving. I think Ming changed their order.
In this case, it didn't make a difference. Fine.
Yeah. But yeah. So, I'm now in Okinawa, Netherlands are in Philippine Sea. I think the eventual idea is to try and get Netherlands back to Formosa. Like, I'd been chatting with Netherlands a bit at this point about what their end goals for the game were, because obviously it's probably not a solo anymore, especially with what's happening here. And they had mentioned that they want to get back their initial cores from the game. Like, that would be a nice thing to finish off with. This one feels like a bit of a stretch. But I was like, well, we can maybe make something happen with regard to that on Formosa, right? I think we could potentially get your unit through. So that's the purpose of this one going up and hopefully eventually getting to there. Yeah.
Sure.
Alright, so now we've looked at that area, we can look at America. Let's look at the good part of America. This is going alright, we're just basically slowly dismantling Ayutthaya. It's kind of annoying how slow getting in on Ayutthaya is, but that's just how it is in a region like this, right? There's not
And
really...
you don't have anything on the back, right? You're only moving in one at a time. And to say that this is slow progress, I don't know, I mean... You got a center, you got into G, like, this is solid progress, I mean. And if you can work with Portugal, which you've been talking about this whole time, it's going to go really quickly.
Yes. I think we are going to be able to take it down quite quickly, actually. And importantly, it's pretty minimal on units that we've had to commit on this front, which is good. This is agreed. I think I mentioned earlier that I was giving Bellum over on a previous turn. I think I forgot which turn that was. This is the turn where I agree to give up Bellum to the Netherlands. Mainly because they made that stab on France and didn't go positive at all. So I felt like I kind of need to give them something in order for them to get something out of that, right? I don't want them to be so weak that they feel like I'm stamping on them, essentially. I'm curious whether you'd have let them do that or not. I feel like I know the answer, though.
I mean, I would have to reevaluate my position in South America. I approached this region very differently from how you did.
Mm-hmm.
In here, we're already at war with Aymara, and it's, as you said, not going to be the fastest war. We're probably going to be locked in here for another 2 years at least. So I probably don't want to piss off Netherlands, and if I think I can give them Bellum and they won't build in St. Louis or Marstad, then probably fine. Because I really, I still want to take all of their land. I consider Bellum mine, like I consider everything in this northern South America mine. But Netherlands is later on the priority list, because first you have to clean up the Caribbean before we can make it out here. So, Yeah.
I mean, Caribbean is pretty cleaned up. Palmobo is a bit of an issue still. We need to take that on the next turn, but that's whatever. England has basically achieved what they want to. We just got into Barbuda. England actually helps me in because that's what makes the most tactical sense here, I think. In fact, I don't even know if it makes the most tactical sense. Yeah, because Saragossa can get cut, right, by the French fleets. So we get into Barbados, we get into Caracas, everything is taken. The question now is England wants New Courland and Barbuda in the long term, so we're going to have to swap those over at some point. But it's... sorry. It is cleaned up, right? This is done.
I mean, we cleaned up and done. Sorry, I still see a lot of English centers over here.
See, you're not seeing the English as the extension of the Spanish Empire that they are. They are just my admiral, and they will never do anything against what I ask them to do.
If that's the case, then yeah, we're going to get into Guiana Current and let's stab Netherlands immediately.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
We'll see what happens with that. I think that's about all we need to talk to on South America. I was really annoyed to see this. Because I was hoping England could start their grand expedition back to here. And we kind of assumed that France, because last time I think they let England get into Bermuda, so England wouldn't get a build there. This time they go for it and they successfully predict that England will leave Bermuda and we won't bounce it. So England still can't build there, and this time England is actually going plus a few, so it means they can only build in Bahamas. Which is sad as far as I can see. But England does snipe here.
Yeah, whatever. It's fine. Like I don't want England to build, right? I don't want them to build. So I'm okay having France snipe it, because I was tempted to snipe Bermuda anyways. But better that they snipe it. Like, I mean, better that I would snipe it, but better that France snipes it than England has it. Oh, yeah, it's fine.
I maybe should have said to England, "Hey, can I protect Bermuda for you?" Just so that I can. I think that has a better payoff either way, right? You either get in or you let England build. And I know you don't want England to build, but I do because I want them to go this way. I think I trust them more than you would.
I mean, I haven't seen the press, right? All I have are the moves on the board, and these moves make me want to kill them.
Yeah, I don't remember the reasoning for this one.
Not at all sus. Nope. Not even a little bit.
I feel like they might be going there to core it, but I don't know.
I guess. Do they need more cores?
Probably not.
Keep units sitting around forever.
Yeah. They're probably not going to take that many more FCs over the course of the whole thing, so yeah. We will see. Unfortunately, up here, you will note that Athapasca walks out of the Inuit Center over here and just goes forward through, dodges this one, right? And just works with Inuit here. So at this point, Inuit has pieced out with Athapasca on the condition that Athapasca leave them Denaina and not take their centers up here. That worried me even more, of course, because Athapasca now has a vassal, and it's quite a large vassal, right? All things considered, you've got 1, 2, 3...
And in good strategic position, yeah.
Yeah, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 potential centers, even 9, 10 they get there. So that is a really powerful vassal, and if they're handing over centers to them over time, which is actually what the deal ends up being, I don't know it at this point, but Inuit has basically agreed to give Athapasca 1 center per year, and try and regain that on the front line. That's incredibly strong for Athapasca. It's a really good deal.
Damn.
And suddenly I'm much more in agreement with your stance that this Athapascan move against Inuit is not good for me. Because Inuit isn't fighting them. Yeah.
Yeah, it was too strong too fast.
And the thing is, I don't think you can even blame Inuit for agreeing to this deal, because, like, what's the alternative? They just get murdered.
They got cooked. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta hope they can find a place to stab later.
Mm-hmm.
But, good luck with that.
Yeah, does not look like it. Yeah. So, the one upside to this is that Inuit is hard moving in on France, because that's where they see their centres coming from. And France, obviously, taking the opportunity to just help Athapasca, because at this point I'd stab them a bunch, right? And Athapasca turns around.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, yeah, that works for me. And they get centres out of it. They get New Amsterdam and Seneca, so they've got to be very happy with that.
Hell yeah.
I mean, it's hell yeah for them. It's not hell yeah for me.
I mean, look, you've had it coming.
You're not wrong. There are consequences to actions sometimes, even when you're strong. As a certain president of the United States should hopefully learn soon. Anyway, this... So, we end up losing basically the entire Dutch army on this front in one turn. Seneca... They have retreats, right? They can go to Maryland and Erie, but the Dutch aren't going to focus on this front when they have more important stuff to defend. So I think they actually just take both of these off, if I recall correctly. The one good thing on this front is that the Tokugawans changed sides, right? Oops. Keep clicking that button by mistake. But the Tokugawans are going into Kivachak Bay. My pitch on Tokugawa here was really hard. It was like, look at the Athapascan position here. They're just gonna run me over. You can make some gains by attacking me. Like, if you go for Mexico City or whatever, but they're gonna gain far more and they're gonna win. They're like much stronger than me at the moment, despite the...
And they're regional. They
Yeah.
have so few centers they have to win.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. No, I mean, it's a good pitch.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, it clearly worked, so...
Aye. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that was good, but, like, this is not good. I do kind of...
Yeah, I mean, it's top four, right?
Yeah.
I don't know why they're coring here. That core is a bit...
I guess they realize they don't need to be support held, and so they might as well start coring, force you to tap it next phase. Interesting.
Yeah, probably. I feel like it would have been better for them just to go to Chemahuevi, but maybe they were worried I would go in this way. They probably were worried that I would go in this way. Oh, they thought that Tokugawa was going into Vizcano, so they needed to block their retreats anyway, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes sense. And you can see I'm just like, okay, I'm not staying in Arapaho, this is not going to work. I just run away from there, and I'm bringing the extra unit round this way. I'm trying
cover
to...
Kato, stay solid.
Yeah. I'm trying to get into the stalemate position that I saw. I think I'll be there relatively soon. But again, we'll discuss that when we get to it. Probably won't be in this episode.
Yeah, it's probably the next one, unfortunately.
Yeah. So, I think that about covers everything relevant. We can go through to the winter here. We got the VSCC percentages. I am in first, just about, and I actually do get quite a few builds that phase. But Athapasca very close behind now. And then there's a bit of a gap. Yeah. So, sorry, just gonna...
Sweet position.
Yeah, I am...
Some cracks are starting to show, finally, but your England is going great. Europe is going great.
Yep.
And England is in the Caribbean, but it's not strong. Like, they're solid in the Caribbean, but they've still only got 4 units. 3 of them are close together. You've got 3 units to match, so they're not outnumbering you, at least. And assuming you put anything down in the Caribbean, you're going to be still solid there. South America, you're clearly the dominant player, which is surprising because you don't have that many more troops than anyone else, but...
Yeah. I have a lot of armies up north, right, as well.
Yeah, you got a couple armies up north, you got a bunch of armies down there, and a couple armies down here.
Yep.
Yeah, it also spread out. Like, at this point, it would take everyone else in South America coordinating to kick you out, basically. As long as you have a single ally, you'll be fine. And Portugal and Netherlands are both plausible for that slot, so
Yes.
that's great. You're really the only place you're having issues with is in the Philippines, and, like, you don't have any dots over there, so who really cares?
Yeah.
You're down to, what, 2 centers over here, and you still got 4 units?
I've got 3 centers. I've got
Oh,
Okinawa
3
now
dots.
as well.
3 dots and 5 units, yeah. No,
Yeah.
4. Because Okinawa Trough. I hate the color similarity between Ming and Spain.
Yeah, I can see the difference. Like, there are other colors that are closer to my eyes, like England and Athapasca. Well, no. I think definitely the Imperial Diplomacy map can be a bit of a nightmare for colorblind people.
Yeah, that's
Sorry
why
about that.
you kill Ming first, as Spain.
Establish dominance as the important yellow power.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, I've got the 4 units here covering 3 centers. It's not a stable position, but hopefully I can get Manila back. And really, I just want to make sure that I continue to have a decent presence here, right? Like, this can be a launching point for something in the later game. So, yeah. If we go through to the actual build results here, I think I put down another army in Iberia. I believe this one was agreed on, like the Porto one. They want to convoy that around. I was obviously like, I definitely need to have an army there as well if you're doing that, but I'm okay with just the one. And then, where else? I'm just building everything I can in North America for obvious reasons. Yeah, this is gonna be a tough fight.
Yeah, we're plopping down all the armies now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's tough. Here's where we really wish we'd been able to put down anything sooner.
Yep.
Well, they probably don't break us. I haven't looked at this too closely.
Yeah.
I mean, not with the war against Athapasca. Great. I looked at the war with Shoshone a ton. But... And this is now remarkably similar to that position, given that we've just replaced Shoshone with Athapasca.
Yeah.
But at least... and we have a lot of troops over here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I'm looking at the parallels and differences between our games. Because, like, in my game, I made peace here, and then only much later did I end up going to war, and so I got it. Whereas you went aggressively here very early and ended up losing it.
Yes. It's
unlucky.
It's a weird position. I am gunning for a stalemate line here. Do you maybe want to give a bit of insight into the way that I think about stalemates? Which is, I mean, it's the way anyone would think about stalemates, right? You analyze the frontline province that you want to keep. So, for example, Illinois. Here, I mean, Illinois is not necessarily an important place to keep.
It's not a good one to keep. That one's a tough one.
But the important thing is...
But you said it's a good example. It is a good example.
Yeah, you look at it and you see, can I hold that? I would need 2 supports on that because they have 3 units against it, right? I potentially actually need 3 supports on it because they can get through to Erie, and there's not a lot I can do to stop that with the Dutch units gone. So actually, Illinois is basically lost, right? Unless I can push something up to Erie, there's no way I'm going to have enough supports on this to hold Illinois. So then you go, okay, well, I can't hold Illinois. Where's the next place back that I can hold? Well, let's have a look at Missouri. Missouri is probably somewhere we want to hold in the long term. How many units are they likely to have on Missouri? Well, we've just determined they're going to take Illinois. They're going to take Iowa. It looks like we can't... Well, we obviously can't hold Kansas, right? So that's 1, 2, 3. I'll have Cherokee, I'll have Missouri, I'll have Caddo. That's 3 versus 3, but then you have Erie on this side, which we've determined they will take. So they have a tap on Cherokee. So we actually can't hold Missouri either from that position, right?
Also, Arapaho can tap Caddo.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, Missouri is probably pretty rough.
Yes, Missouri is too far forward, basically. So then we go, okay, well, I can't hold Missouri. Let's have a look further back on the line. Let's move the unit back to here. Well, back in here, we've determined Missouri, Kansas, Arapaho, they're probably all gone. So I need 2 supports on Caddo to hold it. well, I can get any number of supports in this position, right? I can just get units in Karankaha and Chitimaha. That will hold. And then you look at Cherokee and you're like, okay, well, I'm losing Erie, I'm losing Illinois, I'm losing Missouri. I need 2 supports on this. Muskogee, let's say Catawba, that will hold it. So we're good on that front, but we need to get some kind of reinforcement here. Would be the important thing there. Right. And then you just keep looking along the line like that and seeing where is the frontmost province that I can hold here reasonably.
There is one thing that I want to point in here, where me just looking at the stalemate line with Cherokee and Caddo, and he referenced using Muskogee to hold both of them in this example. And this is a really common thing that people do, is they're like, oh, I could hold Cherokee, because I can have Muskogee and Catawba support it. And I can hold Caddo, because I can have Muskogee and Chitimacha support it. And then they forget that Muskogee could only support one of them.
Yes.
And so, in this particular example, because Caddo can be support held from Karankawa and Chitimacha, it's actually fine, because those two can support hold Caddo, and then Muskogee and Catawba can support hold Cherokee, so it's fine. But remember in your examples that if you need to have Muskogee supporting 2 things simultaneously, what's usually the case is it's usually actually a guess between Muskogee and Missouri in this example, and if you can know wherever Missouri's attacking, Muskogee needs to do the same thing as that.
Yes.
So, like, the real thing for stalemate lines is don't do them. Don't think about it. They're a myth.
Okay,
especially in variants like this, you just want to kill people.
Yeah.
The only reason why you need to have this theoretical stalemate line is if Athapasca actually has units in all of these places, and Athapasca doesn't have units in all of these places yet. So the real answer is to get the jump on Athapasca before they fill out the line, and then crush them.
How are you seeing me getting the jump on Athapasca here?
Oh, I mean, too late at this point, but you're not going to make a real stalemate.
Well, we will see when we get to that.
Actually, sorry. Real stalemates, this is different. Okay, ImpDip is cool. I hadn't really thought about this. As a colonial, you can set up totally bullshit stalemate lines.
Because you can pump it full of units, yeah.
Yeah, because normally the problem with the stalemate line, like on the standard diplomacy map, the stalemate line needs to be one that can support itself by having enough centers behind it to actually hold it.
Yes.
And so that's where you get all of these really intricate stalemate lines that are beautiful to look at because it takes 6 units and it supports 6 centers. So that's great. In this, you don't have to worry about having enough units behind. You can just throw a bunch of units in here and say, I'm sure there's a stalemate somewhere. Notably, that's also the good way to think about stalemates, is just put units in the front that's relevant, and then once they put them into good positions to do things, and then you realize, I have a stalemate. Usually. Yep.
I think maybe when I was looking at the stalemate, I should have started from this side because it's more obvious. Because I've got Tokugawa on side, right, I don't have to worry about the coast, really.
Yeah.
Which makes the stalemate much, much simpler here. And because I'm able to stuff it full of units, it becomes very, very viable. So
yeah, supporting the West is far easier to just hold. And you just can hold in Chaumoevi or whatever. You're not adjacent to it yet.
And then
you're not adjacent yet. Oh.
If I say have a unit in Aquala and Sea of Cortez that holds against Chemehuevi and Sonora, I need 1 backup unit against for Nueva with Sonora and Kiowa, right? I only need 1 backup unit for Apache as well.
Tio supports Apache, and then Chitimacha Karankawa supports Caddo, and then sweet.
And then
see how much faster it is from the West?
Yes, that was much, much easier. Right, but it was easier because we knew that Illinois and Missouri are going to fall. We know we have to
say that's going to fall, right? I'm just going to stress. That's only saying if Athapasca can maximize the stalemate line and press.
Yes.
Because there is not a guarantee that actually happens. Theoretically, true. If you, in a different universe, not this one, but in a different universe, France can flip and then it doesn't matter. Or Athapasca can make mistakes, and then you can, get somewhere. Because right now, if Athapasca tries to, bull rush for Erie and stuff, you could maybe slip into Iowa, right? That's an example. So they probably can't just go straight, Fort Detroit to Erie, Ojibwe to Fort Detroit, and stuff into Ojibwe.
Yes.
They maybe can, but it's, risky. And so there's no guarantee that they blitz for pressing that line specifically. And so you have a chance still to actually make counter pressure and maybe get Arapaho, here, tactically, I would be looking into trying to like support Arapaho into Kansas and slip Apache into Arapaho.
That would
Like
be
that'd be the
hilarious.
tactical counter shoot.
Mhm.
Because I think there's a solid chance they want to self bounce here because I think they want to extend a line to make use of their full troops, but they don't want you to slip up into Kansas. They don't want to risk IOA. Maybe they don't do that, but I
Yeah.
would be looking for Kansas. Like Kansas and Arapaho in the center of their line is where they're still weak, and so I'd be looking to punch through there. Not
Yeah, I'd
stalemate.
agree. I think they won't self-bounce here because they've got units here they would want to push this way with, right? And Iowa is kind of important for that. You don't want to waste it on a self-bounce.
Yeah, what tactics do you think they're going to do then? Right.
It would either be like... They might want to support hold Iowa, if anything, and then try and support Fort Detroit down. In fact, that would probably be it, and then they just wait for France to make progress here, right?
In the meantime, the Cherokee can just bounce here, right? If that's what they're doing tactically.
Yes.
Right? It's not a guarantee stalemate, obviously, it's not the lock, but we can outplay that, hold them still for a turn, and then we can get into Caddo. And if we're in Caddo and still in Apache while they're doing this stuff, or we could even say, sure, we can sack Illinois, we can get Missouri into Kansas, lose Illinois, Illinois retreats to Missouri, and now we're in Kansas. Like, unless they're using Arapaho for Kansas, same diff, and slip Apache up. But like here, I'm still trying to counter strike. I am not in the curl up into a ball and hold phase.
See, I just see the number of armies here. I'm like, we are not going to be able to push forward into this. That's just not possible.
I ain't convinced.
Importantly, though, I am trying to get France on side immediately as I see this, right? I'm like, okay,
let's pan to Europe for a second real quick. Let's pan to Europe. I'm trying to get France on side. All right, pan back to North America.
Okay.
All right.
Look.
All right.
Yes. Well, yes, you're correct. But, like, also look at this. Inuit is coming in on France. France doesn't want to die, right? Maybe they will seek shelter with the person who stabbed them a bunch.
Yeah, absolutely. They can trust you.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. We will see how that goes in the next recording, I think, because this is definitely going to be the phase we end this one on.
Yeah, I don't have time, unfortunately.
we spent 3.5 hours talking about this. Wow. All right.
Fun.
So yeah, this is where we're going to leave it. Winter builds 1647, and we will see you on the next one.